Are you searching for a deeper understanding of your faith?
Inspiring Philosophy is your go-to resource for exploring the rich tapestry of Christian thought.
From biblical archaeology to philosophy of mind, we dive into the topics that matter.
Our content bridges faith and understanding, offering insights into God's existence and the reliability of the New Testament.
Join a community where faith meets reason and discover the answers you've been seeking.
Inspiring Philosophy, where faith meets understanding.
Yo, I see you looking at me. Wanna learn more about Islam? We came to the right man. Baby, make me say I step in the scene, Kufi low, Toba dragon, voice deep like the east. Got the Dawa packing, talk Dean, sweet sheen, slick with the pitch, saying Polygenie's peace while I plot on a switch. Zoom calls, fake Wallace, burner in the clutch. No ma, no plan, just a soft girl to touch. Tell her keep it hush, don't involve your dad. Quote her Hadith, make it sound not bad. She say you sure this legit? I not real slow girl, this a hard, but did this, now let's go. Hotel room prayers, fake party glow, then I vanish like gin, leave her out in the snow. Yo, ain't no contract, no doc, no chain on me. Just a voice and a vibe and some third-party deans say it's halal. Sis, don't stress, don't trip. Meanwhile, I'm preaching, plotting my next quick flip. Text at midnight, you up, then gone by dawn. Whole setup, cleaner than a Saudi lawn. No fam, no plan, just tricks and talk. And when she cry, I say fear God and walk. Yo, I made the system, hijab with a code. She begging for rights, I hate ghost mode. Got scholars in fear, got silence for, call it Sharia, but it's a scam I caught.
Say, baby, make me say, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, La ilaha illallah.
Now she go crying, try on the scene. I'm out here posting clips with my Dawa team. Swear on the Lord, then delete the proof. Twist the facts like I twist the truth. She crazy obsessed, I spin on the low while she sitting with texts that I hope won't show. Got voice notes, threats, got the shrink shook too. I say it's all lies, they believe me too. But deep down, bruv, I know what's next. One day this whole game gonna cash that check. Till then I rock robes, give talks, play wise, while sisters like Aisha get fed more lies.
La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah.
Make me say,
La ilaha illallah.
say,
La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, La ilaha illallah.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's right.
That sounded like
Powerful, powerful. So for everyone asking in the live chat, AP wrote that song and then he played it on his stream, and then I begged him to send it to me for this amazing, powerful Dawa Open because I just had to.
Oh, it does tie into the topic, doesn't it?
It ties perfectly into the topic of Mohammed Hijab's worst year ever. And I was like, that'd just be perfect for the stream. So I begged him and then he sent it to me, and then we threw together that open as quickly as we could today. Boom, there you go. Hope everyone's excited.
That sounded like Mohammed Hijab. Who voiced that?
Yeah, it's called AI voice, Stan. Come on, get up.
Hey, Than, they've got this new thing called AI. And what's funny is
it's creepy.
It's creepy. The hilarious thing was Mohammed Hijab used one of those AI programs to make a fake confession from his ex-wife, saying she wasn't his ex-wife. And this was supposedly her confession to a sheikh. And he didn't realize that you can just take something that's AI generated and run it through a test to see if it's AI generated, and it was AI generated. But all his fans, oh my goodness, this girl
I don't feel bad. Never mind.
She has been exposed. She's been exposed for lying. It's like, it's fake AI generated confession. Notice you don't see you don't see his fans complaining about that massive deception. So anyway, yeah, that's what was going on. Then AP uses the same AI program to to have Hijab rap an entire song.
Wow.
Powerful. It's a powerful song. But yeah, that's part of the topic tonight. It has been, I don't know, David. I've been trying to think of all the bad stuff that's happened for Islam and the world of Dawa this year. And I just kept thinking of things. First, I mean, remember like back during Ramadan, Sneeko went to a sheikh and the sheikh was like, yeah, stop using your reason. If you doubt Muhammad at all, you're a kafir. And then that caused panic in the Ummah. And then this has been the year of the Islamic dilemma. We have been putting that out, and we keep hearing from the Dawagandists that I keep getting all these messages from my followers about asking me to address the Islamic dilemma. So like that's affecting the Ummah, all the work we're doing in that. And now we've got two things I want to cover tonight: the downfall of Mohammed Hijab having the worst year of his life, and then of course Sheikh Yasir Qadhi. And recently, Shabir Ally just posted a video coming out saying, yeah, Qadhi's right.
Qadhi is right. Qadhi is right. No, what he said was like absolutely correct. He's saying at the academic level, academics do not take this seriously. He said no one at the academic level. He's correct. That is a factual statement. They think it's a joke. I have their stuff right here. They think it is. They think the Hadith methodology is a. They, to be fair, they believe that you can get some reliable historical information and stuff from the Hadiths and so on, but they think the methodology of, we've got a list of names, no one could fake that. They think that is like completely idiotic, and it is. But yeah, Hijab. Oh my goodness, what? It's like a train crash, crashing into a dumpster fire that's already burning, and watching that. But yeah, it's amazing because it was the end. It was the final live stream of last year when we're doing the live stream like into the new year, and 2024 was the worst year on record for Dawa. It was terrible. It was terrible. You couldn't even get these guys to debate anything. We showed up to Speaker's Corner, they all ran, and it was just really, really bad. And then so we were like, hey, what's your predictions for 2025? It's gonna get better for them, stay the same, or get worse? Everyone predicted it was going to get worse because these things are snowballing, and you see what's happening.
Yeah. For those who don't know, real quickly, so Yasir Qadhi admitted the whole Hadith collection is just not supported by academia, and recently Shabir Ally came out and supported him, but had a major cope at the end of the video, which was hilarious. He tried to argue that because the Hadith has been shown to be unreliable, this means the Quran is the word of God, which we'll get to. But before we get to that, Mohammed Hijab has been having a really, really bad year. First, he lost court case to Douglas Murray, which was just incredible what the judge had to say about him. It said, I'm satisfied that he lied on significant issues with the consequence that his evidence overall is worthless. So just remember, guys, when the king of Dawa is telling you he's got all this amazing evidence, Islam is true, a judge in the UK said this guy's a compulsive liar. He's got no evidence. I wouldn't trust anything he has to say after this. Sure, it doesn't mean everything he says is a lie, but it should at least make you say anytime Hijab is going to try to convince you Islam is true, your default should be skepticism because he's been shown to be a liar in other cases. It's likely he's probably going to be lying in other cases as well. So when he's coming at you like, I know all this proof that Islam is true, immediately be skeptical. That doesn't mean he's not saying that means he's wrong, because that'd be a fallacy. I am saying you should at least be skeptical, because if he's doing this in a court of law where you're supposed to be truthful, where you're not going to get away with this crap, imagine what he's doing on the streets and in his dawa, where he can get away with so much crap.
Oh, and if you read this, I mean, absolutely hilarious. I mean, it's funny because the judge isn't trying to be hilarious, but it's hilarious.
This is the first time I'm reading about like this. I'm reading this for the first time. What is this exactly, really quickly?
So this is Mohammed Hijab sued Douglas Murray for saying. So basically, Douglas Murray said in an article for The Spectator, said Mohammed Hijab is a street agitator, and he was riling up Muslims in a hostile environment with Hindus and Jews and so on. And then Hijab's response is basically, no, I was only talking about Hindutva, the nationalists, and I was only talking about the Zionists, not just these regular, just not just ordinary Jews and Hindus and so on. So he sued on that basis because they said Jews and Hindus whereas he's saying no, specifically Zionists and Hindutva. Problem is the things he was making fun of were like reincarnation. So it's like, how is that not directed towards Hindus in general? And then he's standing there in a Jewish neighborhood with a sign behind him saying, "Do you not remember the Holocaust?" and stuff like that. And then when the judge brings this up, it's like, sounds like you're just messing with Jews in general with that kind of stuff. He's going, "What? There's a sign behind me? What? I pay no attention." So then they've got pictures of him throughout the entire day in front of this thing and using it as a prop and stuff like that. And so the judge is like, seriously, you didn't know this van's behind you with all these graphics that you're talking about. But yeah, basically, so he sued based on that. And it was an obviously frivolous lawsuit. I mean, just obvious. There are people, Andrew Tate's like this. You'll sue someone to make them back down because they don't want to spend the time and go to court and do all this stuff. So they'll just give you a quick payoff and then you can claim victory. See, they've admitted that I was right. No, they admitted that they didn't want to go through a stupid trial like this. So that's what he takes Andrew Tate as his role model and tried the same thing and did not go well for him. But the real takeaway in all this, if you read this, he did in court the exact same thing that is impressive to his idiot followers. Like he has these moron followers, and as long as you thump your chest and you act like an idiot and start speaking in a really condescending tone towards everyone, then they're really impressed by that and like, oh, this person must be right. He did the exact same thing in court. They're saying things.
I will refute you. Like,
yeah, no, exactly. Instead, he started arguing and he's argumentative and he's speaking in a condescending tone. And then like someone will say something, he'll be like, "Oh, you guys obviously don't even speak English." It's like, you're talking to some seriously educated people in this courtroom and telling them they don't even speak English. And then his lawyer's giving his conclusion. Man. And he said Hijab is sitting there chewing on donuts and sucking the sugar off his fingers in front of the court and everything. It's like he's acting.
Does he think he's in a movie?
No, this is what is impressive to their fans. Or keep in mind, when Ali Dawa was debating AP, Ali Dawa had a guy feeding him grapes as he's doing. For some reason, they think that's, if you show that you're eating while the other person is making a point and stuff, that makes you strong. You don't do it in court, you giant idiot. If you have followers that are that dumb and that's the sort of low-level nonsense that impresses them, fine. But it's like he's been programmed for the past decade. This is what works. This is how you impress people. And oh, by the way, the people in that courtroom will be the exact same. And a judge did not agree.
Mm-hmm. And you can sense his resentment and embitterment as a disgruntled man that he is.
Yes. And my favorite part of this whole thing is when he was doing the Hindutva thing, and the judge says this, it says, when asked to name anyone in the world who subscribed to Hindutva in ideology who was not a Hindu, Mohammed Hijab was able to give one name: Benjamin Netanyahu. Like, this is full of stupidity we were dealing with in this epic court case, and we lost. He now has to pay £670,000 in punitive damages, which is rare in UK court. That doesn't happen. This is how bad he lost.
Hey, £670,000. That's like the weight of his ego, and and what he has to pay.
Yeah. But that's not even half of how bad it has been. For those who don't know, he's been involved in another scandal where he had a hotel's wife, a second wife, who he was taking advantage of, using for basically just, intercourse, and then discarding her. Well, she didn't like that. Go figure. So she decided to go public and call him out and challenge him to a mubahala, tried to take him before the Islamic Council. That's still ongoing.
To be this once again is his ego. She tried everything not to expose him. She didn't want to expose him. She didn't want to damage Dawa and stuff like that. She just insisted after this happened, after he said, "Hey, marry me, and we're going to have a life together and we're going to have a family and we'll have a house and stuff." And then he marries her and she realizes he only wants to meet in hotels, and eventually tells her, "No, we're not going to have a family. We're not going to have a house. I'm using you for sex. I only want to meet you in a hotel. And I'm such an important da'i that you should agree to this for the rest of your life." And she's just like, I have a daughter. Seriously, right. I'm supposed to spend my life just being in the hotel with you, and then like what does that look like if people see me go to the hotel and stuff? So anyway, she said no, and so they got a divorce. But she found out that this was happening to other women because this is what Dawa guys are doing. So she basically said she agreed to a behind the scenes apology. So you apologize behind the scenes. And I want on some important platform to warn Muslim women that there are Dawa guys who are doing this. She's not going to name any names. She's going to say, guys, this is what happened to me. And ladies, you need to take precautions when one of these guys says, yeah, I want to marry you and we're going to have a family together. They're not necessarily taking that seriously. So be on guard. So they actually went through with this. They recorded the entire interview with Ali Dawa, Mohammed Hijab's buddy. And so they were going to release this video. Hijab said, no, don't even let her warn people that this is going on. So after that, she was still trying to deal with it behind the scenes. She eventually gets in contact with these guys behind veils who are Muslims, but they do investigations into like corruption. They're actually pretty cool guys. They do awesome work. You can check out, everyone can check out the channel Behind Veils, but they tried to deal with it behind the scenes, right? They're like, look, you need to make this right and blah, blah, blah. And Hijab called everyone a liar, called her a liar. She was never my wife. She's crazy. She's a crazy stalker. And then they start piling on information like, whoa. And then what does Hijab do? He blackmails a sheikh into lying for him. He generates this fake AI confession and stuff. And these guys just, obliterate him. Obliterate him. And now it's kind of common knowledge. But the creepy part that came out was Hijab was working with Dawa guys around the world, a team of 75. They're all working together to discredit her. And the creepy stuff was Ali Dawa brings up in this chat. So it all got leaked, and the dude's been posting over on Behind Veils. He's been posting some of this stuff, but it got leaked. Ali Dawa was saying, hey, we need to be careful because we're pushing her so hard, we might actually drive her to ending her own life. And Hijab says we shouldn't care. If she's coming after us, we should not care. This is his ex-wife. This is his ex-wife. And oh, by the way, I did an interview with her. I'm about to post that. Well, I already did one interview with her. We recorded another one, about to post that in the next day or two. But she points out it was so bad, she did try to end her own life. And these guys are running their mouths about how it's fine and stuff. So this is sick, evil stuff. And keep in mind, these are the champions of Dawa. These are the guys we're supposed to look to as the guys who are telling us the truth. And everything is lie. Everything is deception. It's just pure evil. And it's like a giant, to them, the whole Dawa scene is like a big Diddy club. That's what it is. It's something where we get a bunch of attention and then girls will fall for us because they think we're important to Islam and they want to be with someone who's important to Islam. And the girls are just falling and they're being used and abused and kicked to the curb. And it's one massive, disgusting community.
Well, Behind Veils released another video yesterday, which we're going to review here before we get to the Yasir Qadhi mess. But basically, about a month or so ago, he pointed out he somehow got access to their private the group chat of the 75 da'i working together to try to destroy this woman. Doesn't care if she commits suicide, all that. He got access and he just waited and watched, released a bunch of stuff. And he said he's going to release the full list of names of these da'i that are in there, the Muslim apologists. And so this video from Behind Veils just came out. This says this is the final warning to the Dawa list.
All right, little side note. Lots of people will be, this is my last warning and stuff like this. If you believe anyone on the planet, Muslims of the world, if you believe anyone on the planet when he says, this is your last warning and here's what I'm going to do, believe this guy. He follows through on what he says he will do 100% of the time. So you've been warned.
The curtain and gave the world a glimpse into a private WhatsApp group as deception unfolded before their very eyes. We saw Mohammed Hijab caught in his own words, admitting to lies, dodging accountability, and orchestrating a smear campaign with chilling precision. We saw Ali Dawa, the so-called truth seeker, pretending to conduct an objective investigation while colluding and secretly assisting with the production of the very AI-narrated videos that claim to exonerate Hijab. And then we saw Hashim from Dawa Wise, Muhammad Murad from Deen Response, and others scheming how to weaponize mental health and blasphemy labels to assassinate the character of Sister Aisha. These were not casual conversations. They were deliberate strategies to destroy her name, silence the truth, and bury the crimes beneath public doubt. In the days that followed, the community erupted. Outrage, disgust, people demanding the release of the full list, comments raining down on their videos like fire, Hashim being publicly confronted only to run to the police, crying harassment because a 16-year-old boy dared to ask about the truth.
Oh, hey, go ahead and pause it.
So proud of young Bob there doing that.
Yeah, young Bob rolled right up on him. Hey, why you support the abuse of women? Why are you helping people abuse women and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So it's basically, and here's what's total symptom of a narcissist, right? It's he is willing to take down everyone with him. It's like, okay, here are all the messed up things that I've done and I'm being exposed for. I want all you guys to work together and cover it up for me. Well, guess what? If the cover up doesn't work, now all of these guys are associated with the cover up and the scandal. And he just did that with dozens of dudes. So again, the Behind Veils hasn't released all the names. They only released a couple that were relevant in some of the screenshots they were sharing from the leaked messages. But Hashim is one of like what was it, like 4 or 5 guys or whatever whose names were there. And now this guy can't even go to Speaker's Corner. He has to run to the police. I mean, this guy ran to police like a coward. Save me from this 16-year-old Christian who's asking me about this stuff. This is going to happen everywhere. And one of the other things that happened was once Behind Veils starts investigating to the Mohammed Hijab hotel wife scandal, turns out Ali Dawa also has his hotel wife scandal, and apparently this is the theory because he's doing it with a girl that he took on the Hajj to be his little hotel wife and so on. He gets girls on his show to have discussions, and then he picks one, and apparently this is what it looks like. It looks like he says, hey, you're supposed to, as a Muslim, you're supposed to go on the Hajj, but that's very expensive. You could be my wife for the trip and I'll bang you a bunch but I'll pay for your trip. That's what it looks like. And so keep in mind, Ali Dawa got exposed because Mohammed Hijab was exposed. And during the investigation, more information comes out and so on. So everyone is just going up in flames because of their loyalty to Mohammed Hijab. And I mean, Ali Dawa, there's a clip of him. He's on the street and the guy walks up and he's like, hey, are you the Mutta guy? Like the Mutta guy. That's where you do this temporary marriage thing and stuff. But all their reputations, as bad as they already were, are significantly worse now. And Hijab is just basically, I will take down all of Dawa with me. And hats off to you, Hijab. Make us proud, buddy.
Doing great. We're really appreciating it.
I hate that this is how Dawa is getting taken down, but at least it's getting taken down, I guess.
Listen, it needs to and look, there's Muslims like this guy here who are like all for exposing these guys because not all Muslims are Mohammed Hijab.
Yeah.
It's just a problem that the Dawa guys, the most popular ones, are people like Ali Dawa, Mohammed Hijab, Dean Responds Rising, these kinds of guys. It's so like if this was the face of Dawa, we'd have much better conversations, but we don't. We have to deal with narcissists like Hijab, and that's a problem.
And I just want to point out there's kind of a disturbing aspect to this in that here you have a guy who actually tries to help people, does the right thing, helps abuse victims and so on. But these aren't look at the subscribers, under 10,000. And if you're some Dawa idiot thumping your chest, I'm humiliating the kuffar, you get 1 million. And it's like, so there's something seriously dysfunctional in the community. As IP pointed out, there are guys like this and so on, but it's like, why aren't these the guys who are more popular? It tells you something about your community and the thinking there, but yeah, it's weird. Sucks.
I know.
And behind the scenes, even some members of the private WhatsApp group reached out to me saying, we didn't agree with it. We didn't take part in it. Let me be absolutely clear to every Da'i who remains silent, thinking they bear no responsibility while watching deception unfold. I have 3 words for you: rise and shine. This is about crime. Crimes under UK law, crimes under Islamic law, crimes against a sister, crimes against Allah. The crime of hijab, taking a false oath by Allah, the crime of deliberately misleading the public and treating their intelligence with contempt. The crime of deep fake AI manipulation, using her voice to forge a false confession. The crime of forged evidence. Ali Dawa's fabricated screenshot meant to wrongly frame her. The crime of blackmail. Hijab threatening Sheikh Torana, with a deadline to retract the truth and leading to the sheikh having to be admitted into the hospital. And while these crimes unfolded, 75 duat sat silently in the same chat, watching, reading, witnessing. Not one of them stood up. Not one of them said, this is wrong. Not one of them defended the truth. And to this day, most are still silent. There is no presumption of innocence for the 75 duats in that group that were witness to false testimony and remain silent amidst the fabrication of evidence and the coordinated effort to unjustly attack a Muslim sister. Over the past few
I think he's making a good point. It's like if you are like in a car and like your friend gets out and goes robs a bank and you just drive away with him, like even if you're in the back seat, you're an accomplice. So a lot of those Muslim apologists in there, the best they're going to be a claim is ignorance. Like maybe they were in the chat, they just weren't reading it, they weren't checking on it, they didn't know what was going on. We've not seen the full transcript, but Behind Veils has. So like maybe he knows more than we do. Like maybe he knows who was reading, who wasn't. But I mean, like he does make a good point. They were accomplices to this. Like, could you imagine, Than, if you and I were in a group chat and we just saw a bunch of Christian apologists saying, so we had this secret affair with this woman and we were sleeping with her. Now we want to destroy her. We don't care if she commits suicide. I like to think that you of all people would be like, no, we're not doing this. You'd be going after them. Like this is something that like, if I saw Christians doing this, I'd immediately call Mike Winger. I get Mike Winger on the phone immediately. The dude, time to expose. I know you like doing that right now.
And by the way, not even necessarily with Christians. I made this point. I made a similar point back with the grooming gang scandal and stuff, because if you look at it, it would be if you the list of names of a guy who is abusing of the guys who are abusing a particular girl, it would be like 3 brothers, their dad, their uncle. And so it's like an entire family affair. So they're all in on like gang graping this, 12-year-old girl and stuff. It's a family thing, right? And I had to make the point. I was like, I come from a pretty high crime family. All my brothers been locked up and so on. But if I were to call up one of my brother, or if I showed up to one of my brothers and I was like, hey, I got a 12-year-old girl and let's all go and do whatever we want to her and load her up with drugs there would be a moment of pause to figure out if I'm serious or not. If I was serious, some teeth are getting knocked out by someone. It would be a blood, but under no circumstances would this be a family thing where we go and do this to a girl. In the Pakistani Muslim community of Great Britain, it's totally normal, city after city after city after city. And here's the same thing. I mean, as IP was just pointing out, I mean, imagine, hey guys, here's what I was doing with this girl. Now everyone help me make her the bad person. I'm the one who abused her. I want all of you to help me look like the victim here of her. And we don't even care if we drive her to end her own life and stuff. That's what you're dealing with. And everyone there, again, they can make excuses and say, oh, I just wasn't paying attention to any of this. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But even if you weren't paying attention during this, now that it's out, if you're still part of the group chat, you know about it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And they should be coming out going, hey, I should have been paying more attention. I was wrong. This is wrong. I stand against Hijab. But Behind Veils is right. No one is doing that, which, it says a lot about the current state of their community and what's going on. Like, this is not good.
How is the Islamic community in general receiving what's the guy's name? Something Veils?
Behind Veils.
Behind Veils. How is the Islamic community in general receiving what he's doing?
Pretty well. Again, he doesn't have nearly the same. That was the main reason we started talking about it when this stuff was coming out. Was it was kind of a mismatch. It's Mohammed Hijab, who has like 1.3 million subscribers, Ali Dawa, who's got 1 million subscribers, all these huge channels and all these Dawa guys around the world. And it's one woman with no followers, no subscribers. She's calling them out and they're all like lying about her. And then she gets one guy. Well, it's a couple guys Behind Veils, but one channel with a few thousand subscribers helping her. And we're just like, okay, this is kind of a mismatch here in terms of in terms of influence. So we'll start posting some of the stuff and sharing some of the stuff and going through it as well to help get the voice out. But no, the dude right there, Salman, he's just relentless. He just
Good.
keeps coming. He just keeps
he's
coming.
smart.
And I'm like, so it's really amazing. I mean, I told Sister Aisha, that was Mohammed Hijab's ex-wife, but I told her in the recent interview, which is about to come out, that this was such a massive mismatch. You've got the Dawa guys around the world and all their social media channels and stuff like that, all coming at you, and you have no way of getting your voice out there and stuff, and somehow you're winning. I said, I don't believe in Islam, but I believe in this situation, God is on your side, because just there's no way you should have won that, and you're crushing them. She's crushing them.
Yeah. So we need to support them in any way we can. And that's why I'm bringing attention to it, because that's all I can do right now, because this is pretty bad stuff. Pretty bad stuff. So I'll get to some super chats. We'll get back to that video here. Jay Pendragon released the hijab list. Yeah, we want the Diddy hijab list.
Yeah, it's called the Dawa Diddy list.
Orthoduck Lips says big lip energy.
Dan, you missed that.
Mike told me about it, but now that I'm seeing the picture, that's not photoshopped, is it?
I think this guy
Yeah.
photoshopped that one a little bit. The other one is not much different, but he's got this picture, but he's doing the duck lips, and I was like, why are you doing duck lips in your picture, man?
I found out he can't go to DebateCon today. I was like, are you kidding me? I thought he's been saying we've been running from him. All right, we'll debate him at DebateCon. He can't go.
They're gonna make fun of my lips, and I said when we were live one day, and he was saying, I can't do it. I was like, okay, then do it at a different one. There are multiple debate cons. They're like 2 or 3 debate cons per year. So sign up for a different one, but quit running your duck lips.
Got a toothache.
about us running.
Yeah, Lipiano, stop running your lips. If it's such a double standard. If they're busy, they're busy. If we're busy, we're running.
We're running. Everyone's scared of them.
It's ridiculous. So I'm going to get to some more super chats here. IP and David Wood, when are you guys going to join the Minecraft server and challenge the mob to a mubahala when David learns Minecraft, which will be never, because he's too old and dying.
I saw my kids play it years ago.
I don't even know how to play
I still haven't. Guys, I promise I will download Minecraft and play with you soon. I'm sorry.
Hey, it was funny. This is back when Vocab was playing Prophet Muhammad. We're going to have a Prophet Muhammad gaming channel where he's just playing video games. But yeah, he was going to build this big fortress and have it all rigged up with explosives and stuff like that. And he's just going to go around killing dogs the entire time. Anyway, it's really fun.
Huge fan. What's your take on the perpetual virginity of Mary? Is the case strong for it? Also love your videos on the Exodus. Also, David, your debates against Islam are awesome. Yeah. I'd say in tradition, there's strong evidence. Most church fathers that are talking about it accept it. Not a lot of evidence for it in scripture. So the Catholic Church kind of has to look for it from different places. I've seen the case. I don't know where I stand on that. I'm not fully on board with it, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I don't believe in it, but at the end of the day, I don't know. Wasn't there. So yeah, I'm sort of in I'm looking at the Bible. I don't see any reason to think that she was a perpetual virgin. So yeah, but if you believed in the authority of others who said it, because keep in mind that belief does go back way early. So
yeah, it does. Yeah. That's the thing. I'm kind of like, okay, well, that is an interesting in favor of it, but I'm just not sure where I am on that. I'm just kind of up in the air. David Wood, so you will write a book on the Islamic dilemma. Okay, you heard it here, folks. David,
I hope others do as well. All the information is going to be provided to anyone who wants to use that information, make books, make videos, all that stuff. We're going to have it set up so basically any Christian can debate a Muslim on the Islamic dilemma, because everything's going to be right in front of you.
Send me whatever you got. I'm still learning Islam stuff, David. So,
David,
if you want to learn one thing, learn the Islamic dilemma.
Yeah, that's that. Watch all the videos we got on it. That is so easy to use, and once you have it down, Muslims run. They don't know what to do with it.
You're afraid. Do I?
David,
is part of pitching the argument using that tone?
Yes, of course. It's a very important part. Yes,
important.
David. After the last stream, the Mormons are going to want to humiliate you. But the proof is too much for them. Very much. Yes. How plausible Is it that Islam is a post hoc justification for the conquest and much of the commandments are just carry over from camp rules? So that's kind of what you get in Robert Hoyland's book, In God's Path. He argues it started out as like a coalition of like early Muslims, there were Arabs as well as Christian and Jews. And then under Abdul Malik, things started to change. They started to say, no, we're redefining things around this religious adherence to Islam. And yeah, that possibly could be it seems I see a lot of historians moving in that direction, at least critical historians. I'm going to have Shahada stuck in my head now. Thanks. You're welcome. Powerful song. It's going to be stuck in your head. Excellent. Based intro, seeing shirtless Hijab makes me want to McMutamil. Hijab will regret from wanting to go to prison. I'll show him the Mormon Al-Zut from Elder Dawa Troll.
Yeah, Fan, you probably missed it, but after the hijab scandal came out, I rolled up to McDonald's and tried to order a McMuta marriage and a Happy Meal for my bride at McDonald's, and the guy didn't know what I was talking about.
Oh my gosh.
Unfortunately.
Gee, Bible Bros are here. Off topic, but has IP been able to keep up with the Bible Project podcast series on redemption? I have not. I will try to look at it. I have not. Do you know if Joseph had an Egyptian name when he was Pharaoh? Yeah, well, it says so in the Bible. It lists his name. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's in there. When he's appointed, he's given a wife, and he's called by a specific name. And if you read Kenneth Kitchen's book on the reliability of the Old Testament, he's got a section in there where he explains the name and how it comes from Egyptian background. So check that out. Kenneth Kitchen's book on the reliability of the Old Testament, and that'll help you there. I don't have that I don't have that in my memory. I'm here for IP to summarize what I didn't read. You see? Good point. Good point. That's what we're here for. This reads like Mohammed Hijab thinks he's a bully in a sitcom, but there's no laugh track, just a pissed off judge. Yeah, it certainly does. Yes. What do we got here? Why do you think who do you think is worth, Mohammed Hijab or Tate? Tate. I'd have to go with Tate. Mohammed Hijab is getting close. It's getting real close, but hard to really compete with Tate.
Didn't Tate actually run like a trafficking ring or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lots of trafficking, and but worse than that, he was basically training other people how to do it. He had an entire course.
Yeah, he's worse.
And extremely stupid. He didn't realize that what he was doing was one of the definitions of human trafficking. People think of trafficking as like locking a girl in a cage and stuff like that. And no, the lover boy method is one of the the go-to methods of human trafficking. In fact, I mean, you talk to there are guys you meet in prison, and it's interesting. Lots of like the old school guys, like the robbers and stuff, they think if you have to shoot someone during a robbery, you're an amateur. You're an amateur. You shouldn't have to do that if you actually know how to control people and stuff. And when you shoot someone, you're just ruining it, because then that causes future people to panic and think they're going to be shot during a robbery, as opposed to thinking as long as we do what we're told, then no one gets hurt and stuff like this. So, there are kidnappers who think if you actually have to hurt one of the people you've kidnapped and stuff like that, you're an amateur. You should know how to get the person, get the money, return them safely. And that way, future kidnapping victim families and stuff know, as long as we pay, we get the person back safely. You return them back hurt, no one trusts the payoff system and so on. But there are pimps like that. They think if you have to beat these girls and lock them up and so, you're an amateur. You get them to fall in love with you. And you get each girl to think she's the special one, even though she's doing the same thing as all the girls. But each girl thinks she's the special one that you love in return. And they all love you, and that's how you control them. And that's the ideal way of doing it. That's what Tate was doing. This idiot did not know. He was literally training people how to traffic girls. And then it's eventually his lawyer tells him, all that stuff you're bragging about doing, actually illegal, dude. And you're recorded saying you're doing all this stuff. And that's when he came out. No, that was years ago. And I wasn't doing any of that stuff. All I was doing is helping girls on TikTok.
Yeah. Insane. Can atheists actually say that suffering makes more sense in a naturalistic worldview? We have no outside examples of how an ungoverned natural world operates, and so no reason to believe that it's inherently more chaotic. Am I way off? Than, what is your take on this? Maybe. I think you might be onto something here, or maybe. I'd have to think more about this. I'd say it's hard to just make sense of. There's no meaning in suffering on a naturalistic worldview. It just is. It's descriptive. what
So-
atheists do with suffering is they make an internal critique against religiosity, but we can turn that around and say, well, in your worldview, it makes no sense. There's no ultimate meaning, justification, triumph for it. That doesn't take into account. It
Yeah.
actually has a more grim look. So possibly.
I think it just depends on how you're approaching this question. Like, if you're asking the question, can they make more sense of it on a naturalistic worldview in an evidential sense? Like, what's the probability of this observation on naturalism in comparison to like Christianity or something like that? I don't think they can, because naturalism as a hypothesis still just doesn't make any predictions in my estimation. So like they're going to have to tack on a bunch of auxiliaries on top of naturalism as their fundamental theory to try to make sense of it. But it again, it depends on how you're approaching, I guess, the question methodologically speaking.
Yeah, I would say it's this weird situation where if you sort of granted everything else right up to suffering, and you said, let's just pretend that all the evidence is equal on these between theism and naturalism or something like this. In other words, if you granted a universe and you granted living things and you granted, finally fine tuning and stuff, if you granted everything and then you just said, okay, we're granting everything, all the other background information. Now, which hypothesis, theism or naturalism, better explains the amount and kinds of human and animal suffering? They could say, okay, well, since since on naturalism, you don't have anyone kind of looking out for things, it should be some kind, it would seem to be kind of random and stuff. And therefore that evidence would favor naturalism over theism. Problem is, it's like, if you're not just granting everything, okay,
right,
getting a universe massively favors theism over naturalism. Fine-tuning massively favors theism over natural. Everything that is required for suffering. What do you need for suffering? You need a universe. You need a finely tuned universe. You need living organisms. You need, if you're talking about the ability,
if you have all that in
argue
the
about
background knowledge, then yeah, exactly. But that's, if you're gonna have that in your background knowledge, it's all going to be evidence for theism, in my estimation. Right.
Oh, and by the way, Alvin Planiga, in his response to Draper, because Draper argues along these lines, Alvin Planiga pointed out like kind of the stupidity of appealing to just one particular piece of evidence and ignoring everything else.
Yeah.
And he said, he goes, so take the fact that there's a dog 3 feet away from me, and take the hypotheses. 1, I'm in my office. 2, I'm in a dog kennel. Well, the evidence, there's a dog within a few feet of me, is way more probable on the hypothesis that I'm in a dog kennel, because it's pretty much guaranteed there's going to be a dog close by me in a dog kennel. Whereas in my office, you wouldn't think there's a dog beside me. But here I am in my office, and it's obvious that I'm in other words, you don't just zero in on one particular piece of evidence and throw everything out or pretend it's all equal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, IP Ruslan mentioned you might debate Douglas Wilson. Would love to see it. His influence has been so damaging to my church. Focus shifted from Christ to gospel to households and male headship. Wow. So that news travels fast. I just suggested this today to Ruslan, like maybe like an hour ago or so before we went live. I was like, yeah, this guy's popular. I know you want to do a debate for your next conference. Why don't we debate if Christian nationalism is good for Christianity, or if Christian nationalism like comes out of Christianity, that kind of stuff, like. So I debate him on that. Yeah. So, hopefully it happens. I would totally debate Douglas Wilson, and he's getting popular right now because I think Pete Hegseth goes to his church. And so I'd love to show that, Christianity and Christian nationalism are not really actually compatible in terms of the religiosity aspect. So that might be a cool debate to happen. So more people demand it. It might happen, which would be awesome. Yeah. So let me get back to this video here because I want to get to this. So we finish this up, and we'll get to Sheikh Yasir Qadhi's debacle after this.
Few weeks, I've received an overwhelming number of requests through YouTube comments, social media posts, private messages, and even direct phone calls, all urging me to release the list. People want to know who was complicit, who sat silently while these crimes unfolded before their very eyes. Despite the growing pressure, I chose to wait, because there is a wisdom in patience. With time, the truth often begins to surface on its own. And in these past few weeks, much has indeed come to light. Just days ago, the UK High Court dropped a bombshell, a devastating ruling against Mohammed Hijab. Not only did he lose his defamation case, the judge openly declared that Hijab had lied on significant issues, presented worthless testimony, and even fabricated evidence to support his claims. The court exposed how he staged communications with organizations, made up financial loss claims worth tens of thousands of pounds, and relied on witnesses who were either convicted fraudsters or mysteriously absent when it was time to testify.
Hey, pause it real quick so I can tell Fan what this is.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Fan. So, Hijab, brilliant tactical genius that he is. So he's, again, suing Douglas Murray and The Spectator for saying that he was basically, stirring up hostility with Hindus and Jews and so on. When no, it's Zionists and Hindutva, right? So he's suing them based on that. But you also have to show damages. If there's no damages, they don't really care. So in order to show that there were damages, Mohammed Hijab gets his buddies from various charities and Muslim businesses and so on to write letters to him. And the letters are along the line. Here's the thing. It all came out that these are his friends. He knows these guys. He's been doing stuff with them, making videos with these guys for years and stuff. But in the letters to him, they're, Mr. Mohammed Hijab, we would like to offer you the sum of £3,500 per month to be a brand ambassador for our company, blah, 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 blah. And they put this, and then they'll have another letter, which is, Dear Mohammed Hijab, Dear Mohammed Hijab, even though we really wanted to have you as our brand ambassador, and we're going to pay you £3,500 per month, after reading this article in The Spectator, authored by Douglas Murray, accusing you of harassing Hindus and Jews, we have to take back our request. Of course, this will cost you £3,500 per month that you could have been making this entire time, meaning that you are losing out on a grand total of, and it's like the judge.
Wait, did it actually read like that?
Yeah, well, they don't. So the judge is describing it like that. It's like clearly,
oh my gosh, dude.
Giving all this formal language, even though he's friends with them, and then giving specific amounts and repeatedly saying it's because of this article and this. And the judge is like, this is clearly, obviously written afterwards. And what his Hijab star witness is a guy who went to prison for faking road accidents, like where you where you like pull in front of someone and slam on the brakes and stuff like that. Yeah, for insurance fraud. And he had to explain that to the court why he should be trusted and stuff. And it's like, I mean, seriously, you could have made if you weren't an idiot, you could have made a letter that sounded authentic. And everything they do, it's like, here's what will work. This will really impress a judge. Because again, here's what impresses his community. Here's how here's how I lie to my community. This is what my community would fall for because they're stupid. Therefore, these Oxford educated judges and lawyers will fall for the same thing. And they're just blasting him.
My gosh, bro.
Yep. This is Dawa.
The hero of Dawa. The hero of Dawa. And guess what? You can go to his fans right now. Look at what his fans are saying. Oh, Hijab, thank you for your noble stand for the truth. Yeah. And yes, you've been unjustly persecuted because of Islamophobia in the courts. And it's like, you guys deserve to be lied to when you love it. You just love it.
Yeah.
Testify, including his close associate, Hani Dawa. This wasn't just a legal loss. This was a public unmasking of deceit, collusion, and manipulation, all laid bare in the judgment for the world to see. And yet all his friends remained silent, not out of loyalty to the truth, but out of loyalty to their own convenience and self-interest. This is not Dawa. This is a betrayal of upholding our most fundamental religious principles. It has been nearly a month, but now the wait is almost over. Hence why today I am offering a stern warning and final offer to all those in that group. Soon, I will begin releasing names.
Yes.
You can make a very simple choice. You can reach out to us at Behind Veils and denounce the vile, egregious, heinous, and criminal behavior. Or you can remain silent and defiant, complicit and supportive of these criminals. If you choose to contact us and clearly state your condemnation of such behavior, you have our word that we will not release your name. If you so choose not to, then may Allah grant what is just and expose those in whose hearts remain the remnants of arrogance and corruption. Soon the public, the Ummah, will know who remained quiet when truth was trampled and a sister's honor was under siege. This is your moment to show the world what side you're on, to prove that your dawah is more than just performative piety, to stand for the truth or be buried with the lies. And for all those that think I'm bluffing, here's a geographical preview to the HP Dawah members list.
There we go. I can't help but notice Canada is on there. I wonder if there's a very powerful Muslim lip apologist up there who's ducking from DebateCon, who could possibly
Look at that.
Definitely could be someone up there. I
United
don't know.
Kingdom, United States, Australia, Saudi Arabia, Canada, India. Wow.
Yeah. Here's what I want to know. I wonder what Behind Veils is planning, because he says like, hey, why are you remaining silent? And now he's telling these guys, reach out to me and we won't release your name. But I mean, like, that would mean they can keep remaining silent. So my initial take is he is planning something. I think he wants people to, in that list, to come out and denounce and stand on the side of righteousness and stand with Aisha as they should. So I'm curious to see what he's planning here, because if he has just people private message him and say, I denounce it, they're still going to remain private, I guess. But I mean, did this whole video arguing that you shouldn't remain silent. You should come out and denounce this. So I'm curious to see how this is going to unfold. I don't think it's going to be as clear cut, but I also I think at least the majority of that list on the Dawa Diddy list will not reach out to him. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but my pessimism is suspecting, most won't.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, these guys are in an awkward situation, very awkward. So suppose, by the way, Salman, he's a tactical genius. These other guys, they're tactical morons, right? So think about this, because you would think exactly what you just said right there. Like, why wouldn't one of the Dawa guys just message him and say, okay, I condemn it, and that's it, right? That's all that's expected of me. Now he's not going to release my name. But think. Even if Salman did nothing with any of this stuff, right? It's just, suppose 7 guys contact him. Suppose 7 Dawa guys contact him. We condemn this and we had nothing to do with any of this. And he says, okay, I won't release your names. And he releases everyone else's name. Guess what? You just told Hijab, these are the guys, these guys threw him under the bus behind the scenes, right? In other words, they just outed themselves to the rest of the Dawa guys that we talked to Salman. We talked to Salman and we condemned Mohammed Hijab. That's why our names aren't on the list. And that might be enough for Salman. He might be like, hey, you know who these guys are, and you know they just condemned Mohammed Hijab. So I don't know. He might have something more planned for that, but that also might be enough.
And again, if Salman was the face of Dawa, I think we'd be in a much better world right now. We wouldn't have to be dealing with Dawa clowns, lying, deceiving, putting out baseless crap to try to argue for Islam.
I'd have a few years back on my life. For the last month of you subjecting me to Dawa.
Yeah, I've been subjecting poor Than here to Dawa. He has not been doing well. He's getting through it though, very surely. I should show this clip.
I'm building a tolerance to it.
Are you though? I don't know about that. You kind of I really thought you were gonna lose it the other day when we were going through that one video. Where is it here? Oh, here it is.
I'm just
doing okay, Than. You look like you're about to, blow an aneurysm.
I feel like I'm getting attacked by like a weak octopus. What? Like there's like the hits don't hurt. It's just there's so many like angles I'm getting attacked by that it's just kind of like, do I even bother responding to this? Like,
well, then you have to add that after the octopus hits you like 20 times, it's like, you see, I have defeated him. Look at how he is crying and running. He is terrified of me. Yeah, that's poor.
You found the clip.
classic Than.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump into the Shabir Ally trying to defend Yasir Qadhi here. In a minute here, I'll get some super chats because this was juicy. Jay Smith told me about this today, and I was like, holy crap, we gotta look at this. This looks good. So real quick, did you guys watch Tommy Robinson on trigonometry? I have not watched it yet, but I will try to. No. They all need to be exposed, says Mike Winger, king of the Islamic dilemma. Yes, that's what will happen. In the name of Al-Zut, this is proof Al-Zut is the truth. Yes, absolutely. And creepy picture, by the way. David Wood, how is your dog issue today? Settled?
No, the dog's a stupid. My wife's dog is a stupid idiot. It's the dumbest dog I've ever seen in my life. It is untrainable, and
What kind of
If she
dog
ever-
is it?
it's a stupid poodle. Like the worst.
Oh.
It's the one dog I don't even consider should be in the actual dog category. It's more like a mouse, but dumb. She got it. She's like, oh,
Poodles
but
are
they're real
stubborn.
smart and stuff like this. The biggest idiot ever. And one day, I am gonna punt that thing over the fence and say he disappeared.
Powerful. The following hadith says you can lie to authorities to cover crimes for your fellow Muslims. Sunan Ibn Majid, 2540.
There's all sorts of things about all these situations you can lie about in Islam.
Yeah, it's part of it. Yeah, for sure. And as Allah is the best of deceivers, so why not do what Allah does? Yeah. Is the death of Muhammad a viable variation of the Islamic dilemma? I don't. You mean to talk about the severing of the aorta? Is that what you're referring to? Because in the Muslim sources, it says Muhammad says his aorta was severed, and in the Quran, Allah says if he delivers false prophecies, something like that, Allah will sever his aorta. Is that what you mean? So I don't know. It would depend on how you want to use it. You're not just using the Quran. You got to rely on Islamic sources. So it's going to depend on how authoritative Muslims see it. I can't remember where that is. David, do you know where that is?
Which part?
No,
The
we're
Quran,
Muhammad,
Quran or Hadith?
the Hadith.
It's all over the Hadiths. You could just
Oh.
look up, look up who killed Muhammad. My video will pop up. But yeah, the Quran passage is Surah 69, 44 to 46. The Hadiths, and it's all over the Hadiths.
Yeah.
So there's a
Could
bunch of
be.
Hadiths.
Could be. I would look into that possibly. It may just be a huge issue. I don't know if it'd be a dilemma because you have the two horns. I'd have to see how you place each horn of the dilemma. So I hope you can get the funds for your future education. Thank you for the very generous super chat, Joseph. Much appreciated. Yeah, I had the idea that I should study under Joshua Sijawati and get a dissertation under him because he's done stuff on the Trinity. He's done stuff on Islam. He's done stuff on deep philosophy. It'd be great to study under him because he kind of knows more about what we do. And
Have you talked to him about that?
I did. I mentioned it to him as a possibility. So it'd be at I think St. Andrew's School of Theology, which is a very well-renowned school. So I'm definitely looking into that. I just got to get all my affairs in order before I can go in that direction. So
Wait, you've got affairs? What are you, a Dawa guy? No affairs.
No affairs. None. I'm going to Egypt in October, and I was wanting to know if Avaris is a place you'd be able to visit. Also, any other ruins you'd recommend visiting? I don't know. I've not been to Egypt, but I'd go to Avaris if I could. I mean, I'd see the sights, man. I don't know. I'd want to see the Great Pyramids for sure. That's where I'd want to go. As well as Karnak as well. I mean, there's so much ancient Egyptian history there. That's where I would go because a lot of the stuff for the Exodus is going to be buried stuff that's not going to be as impressive to look at for such a trip. But yeah, that's what I would say. Mr. Wood, are there any plans for more Koranagami videos? It's kind of my favorite. God bless you and all your work.
No, there's nothing planned. I mean, I have Koranagami videos that I can't. I was going to make Andrew Tate a Koranagami Bugatti. It was a lot of work, but then Muslims started turning against him and stuff like that. But anyway, I only do that when someone's crossing some serious lines, and all the guys who cross serious lines are imploding right now. So I don't even know. But give it time, they will cross more lines because they're in panic desperation mode. So we'll see what happens.
It's not, it's going to keep getting worse. I mean, again, this has been a very, very bad year for them. And when they're in panic mode, they just make it worse. They don't take a step back and go, let's think logically. How are we going to get out of it? They've just been making it worse.
The last one I did was for Jake, the Muslim metaphysician, who said I was running from in debate when I agreed to 4 debates with him. And then he backed out of all of them and then said I was running. And so I said, all right, you get a penalty. And so I made him a Koranagami Star of David Christmas tree topper out of a page of the Quran to bring together all the religions.
Very powerful. Yes. Dawa, otherwise known as the weak octopus. Very true. Very true. Ash says, David Wood, praying for your successful evangelism of Salman. That is, yes, hopefully. RK Edit says cats are better, David Wood. And then Goat Hub says goats are the best.
Well, then a poodle, I would agree. Then any other dog, I would not agree. But cats are better than poodles.
Yeah. So for those who don't know,
poodles are the Mike Winger of dogs. Let me just say that. I'll put it that way.
Powerful, absolutely powerful. Okay, for those who don't know, recently Yasir Qadhi basically exposed the whole Hadith. So in Islam, you got the Sunnah, which is the collection of all the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, the Hadith, and you have the Quran, which is supposedly the uncreated speech of Allah. Well, the problem is all the Hadith are like 150 to 200 years after Muhammad lived. And Muslims have this thing they call Hadith science, where they use a chain of narration or isnad. They say, well, if Muhammad told one of his companions this, he told it to this person, who told it to this person, told it to this person, and it was eventually written down in Sahih al-Bukhari. Therefore, we can verify this is a sound chain of narration, and this is a sound hadith. And I don't know what you're thinking, Than, but that just sounds dumb. Like, you just can't say something is verifiable because you heard it through a grapevine. I mean, Bart Ehrman would laugh at that. That's a telephone game right there, going back through like 4 or 5 or 6 different people. That's not an accurate science in terms of verifying what Muhammad actually said and taught. So, but that's what they used to argue.
Is that all that they're really? I thought you were going to keep going and you were going to list other criteria or something like. No, this is okay.
That's it. So Than, basically the idea is they were
learning a lot. He's going to go through a lot.
By the time you get to 2 centuries after the time of Muhammad, there are hundreds of thousands of stories circulating about Muhammad, and tons of them are just made up. Anyone who came up with some new position or who wanted to justify their sect of Islam or justify their leader or something like that would just make up stories. And also for basic practices, right? Like, you'll have one area where something like mutta is normal, and you'll have another area where they don't do mutta. And so if you wanted your version, your belief to win, you'd trace your claim, no, mutta is good, back to a companion of Muhammad. And if you wanted to condemn mutta, you'd make up a story tracing that back to a companion of Muhammad. So they're basically all cooking up these silly stories. And the tendency was to trace it back to a companion. And then what's hilarious is, wait a minute, you think that you're concerned that someone fabricated a story.
Yeah.
But if they give a list of names, that couldn't be fabricated. That's the methodology. Oh, look, we don't know if we should believe this story because people can fabricate it, but we know we can trust this story because it's got a list of names. No one could fake that. And that's the methodology. And then they wonder why people treat it like a joke.
Okay. So when I watched this video, I did interpret him correctly when he was just talking about pious, what do you call it? Pious respect.
Oh, you're talking about Shabir Ally. Let me play the Yasir Qadhi clip, then we'll get to Shabir.
Okay.
So like, this is
preliminary conclusion.
Let me just move up ahead here. So this is him talking about Hadith science, and this is what he said. This went viral in the Muslim community. They were very upset by this. And then Shabir Ally came out and just made it worse, which we'll get to here in a minute.
Let's see how many times he touches his nose.
Aware, you're an academic channel, right? You're well aware.
See that?
Nobody in the academy affirms the Muslim Sunni science of Hadith. Nobody. It is considered to be completely discredited. I'm just
touch his nose again.
I'm describing. I'm not saying which one is right or wrong. I'm just saying the max you'll get, like Harold Motsky and others, are going to say, well, we can say that some hadith definitely go back to some tabi'un. Mm-hmm. That's like the max you can say. Mm-hmm. As for definitively stating that the hadith go back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at this stage of my life, I will have to say this is what I say as a believer, not as an academic. At this stage, and if somebody proves me wrong, then
no one's going to prove you wrong. They'll just
we
harass you into keeping your mouth shut.
Yep, pretty much.
Because here's the point: we can academically prove, by and large.
So that's basically the clip that was kind of went viral there with him. It pissed off the ummah, the Muslim community at large. So they started attacking him because they need the hadith, they need the sunnah. It's important to their religion, and he's just saying, this is just completely discredited by the academic community. And so then Shabir Ally decided he was going to comment on this, and I am so
Hey.
glad he did.
Hey, you got AP in the chat, man. Tell him to jump in.
What? Why is he not? I thought
He's
he told-
afraid.
You see,
He's running.
He's scared.
He's ready, scared of Shabir Ally's.
He's a weakling.
So was
I'm
that
gonna
clip we
send him
just
the link.
watched what the video you sent me is about? Mike?
Yes, that's what.
Okay.
That's what he was commenting on.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, Yasir Qadhi admitted the reality. Now, it was two things. One, he said that nobody at the academic level takes Hadith methodology seriously. That's indisputably true. That is true. They treat it as a joke. But he kind of went on to say, so at this point, if you're talking about does this stuff actually go back to the Prophet as an academic, I can't say. As a believer, I can say. So he's saying I have to accept this by blind faith. It cannot stand up to academic scrutiny. And so that was a big problem for the Ummah. They're saying, whoa, we have this methodology that we just have to accept by blind faith, basically. And there's no academic basis for trusting this stuff. And so he tried to do all these backtracks and stuff like this, which didn't work. But anyway.
Yep, it's pretty bad. But so Shabir Ally decided he was gonna comment on this, and I honestly, guys, he just made it so much worse. I skipped ahead a little bit over a lot of the fluff of him just talking about how history of scholarship, history of missionaries trying to learn Islam, and so he kind of rambles a bit. But this is a very interesting clip. It's very interesting. Did you watch this yet, David?
I did not.
Ooh, you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat. Let me know when you want to stop.
But I've known for years that Shabir is more skeptical of Hadith than lots of other Muslims that we'd run into.
Yeah. But he's got a juicy argument at the end for the truth of the Quran that you're gonna love.
The Muslim grading of the Hadith, the Muslims have tended to just simply take the narrative if, like, say, a companion of the Prophet, peace be upon him, says it. Why? Because that's a pious sort of position for the Muslims, that the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, are beyond dispute. So they're adil, they're trustworthy, and they are dabit, they are retentive of their memories, and so they remembered well, and they trust in a trustworthy manner. They have related what they have remembered, and so the companions are beyond criticism. So now we come to the later generations, and then
catch that. That's part of the Hadith science. Is that the companions of Muhammad are beyond criticism. What they say is good. So if you got a chain of narration going back to a companion in Hadith science, you say, well, that's good because they're beyond criticism. What they say is just like it's a gold standard. There's no justification for that. And that's what Muslims have been using to try to say the Hadith is reliable. It's reliable. What he's pointing out in his academia, that is just an assumption that's not justified. And that's one of the reasons critical scholars reject Hadith science. They have these assumptions in the Islamic schools that, just don't criticize the companions. They're beyond criticism. And that's a problem.
And just think about this for people who don't know anything about the companions. See, for me, all these guys are seriously under investigation. Even if you could trace it back to the companions of Muhammad, I would not trust these guys on a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I mean, just think about it. Look at Dawa. Biggest bunch of liars I've ever seen. I've been to prison. These are the biggest bunch of liars I've ever seen by far. And you go back to a previous generation. What was Dawa back then? Biggest bunch of lies you've ever seen. They actually viewed it as good if you lie to convince someone to convert to Islam, and you lied to them. Well, what harm have you done? You've helped them. You've helped them through your lie. Ali Dawa, we just talked about this. Ali Dawa said about the scientific miracles that Allah used the scientific miracles argument to get him into Islam. But he said the scientific miracles argument is absolute nonsense. And so he believes these guys actually believe that Allah uses their deception to bring people to Islam for their good. And it's like, okay, well, when does that start? Because you guys clearly believe that. You can find lots of lies over the centuries. In fact, we know that the lies were happening left and right. I mean, think about the entire reason for making this Hadith science was because people were making up so many stories. We need a method to try and get back to the truth, because people are just making up stories to justify anything that they want to believe. And it's like, okay, so back then you guys were lying. It's like, at what point were you guys honest that you can say, no, here's when we were honest, and you can trust these guys? I see no stage of Islam.
You gotta remember, Bukhari, like he said he went through 600,000 hadiths and whittled it down to 7,000. That means there were so many sayings of Muhammad, they were just garbage. But he's somehow using hadith science. This makes the prophet look good. This says it goes back to the prophet or the companion of the prophet. Therefore, we'll say it's good. Said that these 7,000 are good. And it's just like Joshua Little's pointed out, like that's crap, because like you just can't do that. Like his criteria was crap. If 600,000 and only 7,000 are good, it's far more likely there's probably a bunch of crap in the 7,000 as well that Bukhari collected. It's because like people are just making up so many sayings of Muhammad. They got that many out there. At that point, you got to go like, how can we even trust the 7,000 roughly or so that he had?
And by the way, little additional problem here as far as the historical reliability. The earliest material we have is not the hadith material. It's what was the Sirah material.
The Sirah, yeah.
Yeah. So like Ibn Ishaq, that's Sirah. These are more like biographies of Muhammad. Yeah. And in early Islam, they had a different methodology. They're still trying to trace it, but you could like trace your story back to some trustworthy guy. It didn't have to be a companion of Muhammad, just someone who was known for being careful historically and so on. The hadith methodology came along later, and the hadith guys threw the Sirah guys under the bus. They don't have this methodology. Yeah, because you guys didn't invent the methodology yet. It hadn't been invented. Yeah, they're using it. But the Sirah stuff goes back earlier. So now if you quote Ibn Ishaq to a Muslim and it's something he doesn't want to believe, he's like, oh, that doesn't meet the hadith standard. Exactly. Yeah, because the standards were later. The standards came out later. But if you're saying that the guys in the first century were liars who can't be trusted and you can't trust their methodology, how are you trusting later guys when all the information had to go through earlier guys? And you were saying the earlier guys are liars and they had a flawed methodology, and later guys had a great methodology. What are they using? Where are they getting this? Where are they getting this stuff? And so anyway, it's like really, really insane where it's generally understood. The closer you get to an event, like the more people would know. In Islam, it's the reverse. The further away you get from Muhammad, the more people know and the better methodology they have. And it's like, guys, that doesn't really work. It's not doing what you think it does.
Yeah.
Then the later generations can be criticized, but we dare not use the same level of criticism towards the companions. Now, for academia, this is going to be a pious sort of position, and they don't have the same pious position. So naturally, the two streams of thought digressed, with academia on the one hand claiming that the hadiths are not reliable because, yes, you say you have a very good isnad system, a system of tracing who said what, and we want to make sure that if somebody says that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said something, well, that person can trace it back to his teacher, who can trace it back to his teacher, who can trace it back to his teacher, who happens to be a companion of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who is beyond dispute. And then that person must have got it from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So from the Muslim point of view, this is all good because we know all of the people on the chain, and they're all trustworthy and reliable people. We have tested them. We know how well they relate narratives. For the later generations, those who are not trustworthy, those who are not reliable with their memories and so on, they made mistakes in transmission. We weed them out. Now we have the reliable chains and the products of those chains. We can embrace those. But from the academic perspective, no, you've made assumptions here. You've made assumptions about the first generation. You're talking about 120,000 people who were said to be companions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And you're saying that across the board, all of these persons were totally honest and totally trustworthy. So the academia does not accept that.
So is it true?
So yeah, that's the game that was just exposed. So he basically just pointed out like just the basic logic, like not even hard to think that that's going on in academia. Hey, Muslims, you guys have this odd assumption that the companions of the Prophet, 120,000 of them are all just trustworthy. What's your reason to think that? You got it's an assumption you haven't justified. Another assumption, which he doesn't talk about, that no one, 150 years after Muhammad could make up a chain of narration and just say it goes back to Muhammad. Some scribe who is collecting these hadiths could just be like, I want to add an additional hadith, so I'll just copy this chain of narration and say that it goes back to Muhammad. Boom. Now I've got a hadith that's authentic, goes right back there. And then there's another assumption that no one in the chain makes a mistake. No one in the chain lies. No one in the chain gets anything wrong. This is like when Yasir Qadhi pointed out the Hadith science is garbage for academia. Like, it's not like this big conspiracy. As Shabir Ally is pointing out, it's just basic logic here. You just can't have these assumptions that are unjustified and then call that Hadith science, as Muslim apologists do. This is why academia rejects the Hadith. It's late. It's unreliable. There's not good reasons. There's not good principles you can use to justify these. It's just chain of narration. Go back to the companion. We know the companions were beyond criticism and they were never corrupted. Therefore, that's good to go. Therefore, it's sound, right? Yeah. No, crap. Absolute garbage.
It is pretty bad. And what's interesting in all of this is it's a man-made methodology. Yeah. In other words, it's not like Allah revealed, here's how you do history. It's these guys came up with a methodology, and now that methodology is foundational somehow to Islamic belief. And when it's attacked, oh, you're attacking Islam. This is how we do history. No, that's a human invention. It's your guys who eventually invented this method, which can't stand up to scholarly scrutiny. You look at it and it's just, I mean, if you just say out loud what your system is, it sounds stupid. Yeah. But what else? What do you do? This is how they tried to figure out what Muhammad said and did. If the method is unreliable and all that's under investigation, you got some serious problems here.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, a little one additional point. There's people like Sajid and so on who, when you can't say anything about Jesus or anything, they'll go, "What's your isnad? You don't even have the isnad. We can't even believe what you say because you don't have that right. Because we think that's a stupid method. Why would we use what we think is a stupid method? What every academic who studies this issue thinks is a stupid method. But then they'll say, "Oh, we can't trust anything you're saying about any of this because you don't have our method." Our man-made method, which then becomes the criterion for evaluating anything any prophet or anyone else said. It's crazy.
So is this not chain of narration or the whatever they call it?
Yeah, you have two components of a hadith. You have the story, that's called the matn, M-A-T-N, matn. And then you have the isnad, which is the list of names. I got it from so-and-so, got it from so-and-so, got it from so-and-so. And ideally goes back to a companion of Muhammad who heard it or saw it.
Yeah, powerful.
And so the idea is, if you're not sure if you can trust the matn because someone may have invented it, just look at the isnad. And that'll tell you by this chain of transmission if this matn is as good as gold. And if Muslims who are watching, if you don't want to take away anything else, take away how insane that is. Someone could write an entire story and could totally fake that. And everyone grants, yes, you can totally fake that. That's why you point to hadith and say, that's a weak hadith. Can't trust that hadith. But it's somehow in your brains that a person who writes an entire story, fake story about Muhammad, could not write a list of names or copy someone else's list of names. And it's something you mentioned, Joshua Little. This comes up in his discussion of this. It's interesting. Historians actually do things the exact opposite with when it comes to Islam's method. And I'm not even talking about how they do history on their own if they're examining, some historical figure or something like that. I mean, with Islam, they interpret things like the exact opposite. So when a historian today looks at a hadith and looks at this perfect list of names that checks all the boxes of hadith methodology in terms of it's the reliability of everyone on the list, they look at that and go, obviously fake. Why? Because the methodology wasn't invented when all these guys are supposedly following this methodology. The method hadn't been invented yet. So if you have this perfect chain of narration, obviously fake because you're writing it to meet the requirements of a later methodology, right?
Yeah.
But they'll look at like broken chains, which just say this and who knows about this guy and we kind of heard this. They'll look at that and say, that's probably earlier material. Why? Because if you were making this up after hadith methodology became the standard, you would have tacked on this perfect list of names. The fact that it's a broken chain or it doesn't go all the way back to a companion of Muhammad suggests that the story was around before hadith methodology became official. And so they look at it and say, that's better material. It's all else held equal. That's stronger material than the obviously fake story. So it's the exact reverse. A Muslim looks at the list of names. Perfect list of names. This is clearly authentic. and oh, this is a broken chain, can't be trusted. Actual historians, it's reversed, and I have to say, the historians make way more sense.
Yeah, it's a good point, because like if the chain of narration is so good, why wasn't it being used by Muqatil or Ibn Asaq? It shows you that was not actually happening in those earlier periods. So these chains are being made up at a later point. That's why critical historians just don't trust them at all. It's basically reels the whole game, basically.
True what Yasir Qadhi said, that, you know, all of academia, like in the sense what he's saying is that pretty much academia has discredited hadith, right? Is that true?
I
Or are there
hesitate.
some academics who hold a different view?
I hesitate to make such general and sweeping statements, because if you say nobody, then that can easily be disproved if you find one person, right? Because you can, if you make an absolute statement like this.
I'll pause
And
it.
in
Okay.
academia nowadays,
I just want to point out, because that's what most people would think when they hear Yasir Qadhi saying no one at the academic level takes this methodology seriously, and you think, okay, well, maybe there's someone, right? It's like if you were to say something about Jesus and say no one doubts that Jesus died by crucifixion. Well, you can always find some weird oddball scholar who doubts something like that. But here's the thing. I'm totally open to Shabir finding someone or something like this.
Please do.
Basically, the number of academics who specialize in hadith, it's not a lot of people. It's not a lot of people. That's actually a field. Joshua Little said this. He said the field is so small that it's a rare field where you can go into it and actually read everything that's been written.
Mm-hmm.
In other words,
Why is that?
There's been tons of people in non-Muslims in Islamic studies and in Quran studies, but there's been comparatively few who specialize in hadith studies. It's kind of new, so there aren't a lot. So if there is someone who takes hadith methodology seriously at the academic level, you should be able to find him, because it's not a large pool of experts here. It's a small group.
Think about this, Than. I mean, Islam has just not come under the academic scrutiny that Christianity has been under for like 200 years. Like it's now starting to happen, and Islam is collapsing. Like you have people like Shabir Ally and Yasir Qadhi just saying we cannot trust the hadith anymore, like completely gone.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, like we're finding more and more data now in studies, you're working on and others, for just the reliability of the gospels. Christianity has gone through this academic scrutiny for centuries, and it's still coming out strong, as the data we have found shows. Islam is just starting to go under this, and they are collapsing. They're collapsing under its own.
Why is it just starting though? Do we know? Like,
it's just it's been foreign. It's been far away. Most academics want to focus on stuff more close to home, but now Islam's becoming more relevant. So now people are wanting to study it more, and there's plenty of room for some young whippersnappers who want to go into hadith scholarship. I mean, it'd be a great field to study for sure.
is we also have many who are Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
They're pursuing the same goals of academia. They're studying things from a historical, critical perspective, and they may have a more nuanced approach.
That's true. Yeah.
And to be sure, even Dr. Qadhi knows that, academia trying to date the hadith narratives would, arrive at, saying that, okay, this hadith can be traced back to such and such a companion. And actually, he said this. He said that, they will say that this can be traced back to a tabi'i, one of the successors of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and so on. So they try to date the traditions that way. And basically what they ask is, if we have a narrative like this, what must have happened in order for a narrative like this to be reported later on? I think this is a good historical question.
Mm-hmm.
So what Dr. Qadhi was trying to say is that these two systems of thought are, very different from each other. He said that they're diametrically opposed with a little overlap. Again, I don't want to say diametrically opposed, because that seems to be like two complete opposites.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're all pursuing the same goals, but with some different assumptions. From academia, the assumption is that we must go with things which are verifiable, absolutely verifiable from such a neutral perspective that whether you're Muslim, Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, atheist, whatever you are, you will all, as human beings, you will see it the same way. Those are the basic facts. And then there could be interpretations. The same half glass of water can be described as being half full or half empty, depending on your perspective. But the measure of the height of the water in the glass, this is objective. And this should be across the board, regardless, atheist or believer, they should all have the same measure. And then the believer can say, you know, God has given us this half glass of water. We thank God. And the pessimistic person may say, well, wait a minute, why did he give us only half a glass? Or is there really a God? Because if there was a God, we'd have a full glass, you know. So you can have different perspectives, but on the same objective. So you have an objective reality of the actual measure of the height of the water, and then you have two subjective views on whether this is good or bad, or how to interpret the fact that we only have this measure and of this height of water.
But, you know, Dr. Shabir, if you think of an ordinary Muslim, right, they think of, you know, Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, those are, you know, the canon, you know, you just follow what's in there and you don't question it, right? Then you come to academia, which is doing the complete opposite, saying, look, even the stuff in Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, those are problematic as well.
Yes, and you know,
so then it does seem like it's diametrically opposed.
Well, I mean, to the average person,
you're a smart woman. Yeah, they are. I mean, again, Hadith science is just nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. I'm confused about what Shabir Ally means. Like, we're not diametrically opposed. It really seems like they are when you have one school actually going, well, let's see, can we find actual good evidence to support the Hadith, and the other one is going, no, the companions, we can trust them, and they would, no Muslim 100 years after Muhammad, or 200 years actually after Muhammad, would ever make up a chain of narration to try to pass off a hadith. And even though there were 600,000 sayings of Muhammad going around that Bukhari had to sift through, I mean, no, that never happened. It's like, dude, these dudes seem diametrically opposed.
Person, yes, it can seem that way, and we need to bridge that gap, Sophia, because
how do we
cannot.
Bridge this gap?
Yes, that obviously is going to be a longer discussion, but it's necessary for us to bridge this gap. We cannot simply live in two worlds and say, okay, when I'm preaching on the pulpit, I'm preaching as if these are all authentic, and then when I talk to my academic friends in academia, or if I'm giving a university lecture, I'm going to speak as if these are not authentic. It's okay to say, I'm going to leave my belief aside for the moment. I'm going to suspend my judgment, and I'm going to speak the academic language because I'm in that sphere. But the question comes back to, what do you believe internally at the end of the day? And
especially if you're at the pulpit, right?
Yes. And then how are you leaving the average people? Are they going to be confused, or are they going to feel guided? So it is necessary for Muslims who have been practicing the methods of isnad criticism to awaken to the fact that, yes, we have made certain assumptions in the way in which we have classified hadiths over time, and we can revisit these criteria. And in fact,
hear that, folks? He's basically exposing the whole thing. You know, you gotta, there's assumptions in hadith science that Muslims have not justified. They need to revisit that criteria. So all these Muslims on X going around saying, oh, Christians wish they had hadith science. Christians wish they had the reliability of our hadith. I mean, like, what are you guys talking about? This is, your own scholars are saying this is all a bunch of unjustifiable nonsense that academia doesn't take serious.
Hey, can you share my screen?
Yes, I can.
Is that up there?
Yep.
So this is Joshua Little. This is his Oxford dissertation, and this is after he goes through what various non-Muslim and Muslim scholars in academia claim about the hadith and so on. And then we get to this: that hadith are unreliable, that any given matan, again, that's the story, cannot be taken at face value as an accurate datum from the first Islamic century, and that any given isnad cannot be taken at face value as an accurate record of a matan's provenance, cannot be seriously contested for multiple reasons. Firstly, there is an overwhelming prior probability based upon the ubiquity of fabrication and pseudepigraphy in late antique and medieval religio-historical pagan, Jewish, and Christian descriptions. In other words, Everyone's making up stories during this time. Secondly, there is the high frequency of contradictions within the hadith corpus. There are tons of them. You go to one hadith, it's graded as sahih, and then you go to the next hadith that's also graded as sahih, and they completely contradict each other, which should tell you there's a problem with the methodology. But anyway, he says, secondly, there is the high frequency of contradictions within the hadith corpus, which necessitates the occurrence of a huge amount of fabrication, interpolation, and or mutation, and therefore skepticism towards any given hadith. Thirdly, in other words, if obviously forged hadiths, because they're contradictory, one of them has to be wrong. If they still meet all the requirements of a true of a good hadith, of a solid hadith, then you got a problem with your methodology. And if there's a problem with your methodology, then that calls everything into question.
Yeah.
Thirdly, there is the ubiquity of fabrication and interpolation, both reported and demonstrable in the hadith corpus, which again casts doubt upon the rest of the corpus. Fourthly, there is the rapid, extreme mutation and growth of reports that evidently took place over the course of a century or more of oral transmission, which means that any given matan, that's the story, regardless of the isnad, is likely at best, heavily distorted and at worst obliterated beyond its original form. Fifthly, there is the belated emergence of hadith as a genre and corpus, largely during the 8th and 9th century CE, which straightforwardly precludes the authenticity of most ascriptions to the 7th century CE. In other words, if the methodology develops much later, there's no way people were following this methodology before it was invented. And so when you're saying they were following it, you're clearly making this up. The entire system is one massive joke.
Yep. That's the ball game, folks.
Oh.
Yeah. This is that's hadith science, basically just crap. So all right, let me get to some super chats. Just so everyone knows, I added the donation link below for anyone who wants to help support us. We're still trying to raise funds to go full time. So if anyone can donate below, we really, really appreciate it. And you can donate through the website, and that means we get 100% of the donation. You don't have to sign up for Patreon or anything else. You can just donate to us directly and help Than get full-time funded so he can work on videos full-time. So please consider donating. We would really, really appreciate that. And it would help us get fully funded so we can keep doing streams like this. Greek informant says Dul al-Qarnayn in the Quran is Alexander the Great, inspired off the 4th century AD Alexander's romance. Why not use this as a dilemma? It's not a dilemma. I would say it's just a problem for Islam. It's just another problem. It's another issue they have. It's an error where they're taking these stories from the Alexander romance and they think it's history, and then they're putting it in the Quran as Dul Qarnayn, and we all know that it's crap.
Yeah, if you want to say why isn't this as a dilemma, why not use this as, you have to say what the dilemma is. Say right. And it has to be it's either this
options
or it's this. It has to be one or the other, and both of them lead to destruction. So explain what the dilemma is.
I can't tell if your dislike of Winger is theatrical or it's genuine, David. Oh, well, it's so theatrically genuine. I don't know what your problem is. IP didn't get your actual views on God's Not Dead. Yeah, I've not actually seen them, and I don't plan to, so don't subject me to that, Christian. I prefer not to watch them. I have better things to do.
Next time you come to Wisconsin, I'm going to make you watch.
No. Okay, Than's out of the stream now. Okay. Tucker Carlson just interviewed. Dang it, he's back. Just interviewed a nun who looks like a man, who is apparently George Stephanopoulos' sister, to talk about how Israel is bad for Christians. I don't know if you and AP want to review that. I don't know. Maybe it's something you could do.
This sounds like a fever dream. Sorry, what?
Yes, that sounds like a dream you actually woke up. I was talking to a nun, but it was George Stephanopoulos' sister. And she was like Tucker Carlson.
Oh, man.
And then she turned into a man halfway through. Yeah. Mike Winger would be a lab. David Wood would be a Rottweiler. IP a Boston Terrier. Than a boxer. What is a
curious? Why I want to know why.
Did you say what's a boxer?
No,
Boston Terrier. Why am I a Boston Terrier? How dare you, man?
They're small little cutesy dogs.
I would be a border collie. That's what I was raised with. That's my favorite dog.
Do you like? Oh, wait, Mike, really?
Yeah.
Wait, come here.
Yeah.
Come here.
I had a boxer bite me in the balls once.
Come here.
Where's your border collie, Than?
Oh, one sec, dude, just come here. Oh.
Why was that dog up there when I was there?
Say hi.
I don't remember this dog.
No, she was
Is
not
this-
here.
Yeah, this dog is new. Yeah. Very nice.
She's not
Beautiful.
new. She just wasn't here when you visited.
How dare you keep the dog from me? I'm disappointed in you. Okay. After I said cats are better, I immediately got into a fight with my misbehaving cat. Yeah, that's what you'll do. That's what the cats do. They will ruin you say anything good about them, they'll immediately ruin everything by, destroying something in your house. They don't want to be known as good. So they probably heard you. Some run into super chats, some just cry. Hey guys, question for all of you. Do animals also have irreducible minds? If so, what makes us special? Just intelligence? If that's the case, couldn't God have put the Imago Dei on chimps? I did a video on this. So what does it mean to be the image of God? And yeah, we were elected by God. That's the Imago Dei. And our intelligence does make us different. There's nothing in scripture which ever says humans are ontologically different from the animals. In fact, Ecclesiastes 3 just goes so far as to say, no, we're just another beast. So think of it like that. Did Hijab's court loss prove the Mubahala works? Ooh, I guess Aisha challenged him. I don't know. I didn't think about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, he never accepted the Mubahala, but it would have been hilarious if he'd accepted the Mubahala before that, and then this happens. That would have been regarded as the proof.
The proof. All right, let's. I want to get back to Shabir Ally here.
And in fact,
we'll get to more super chats in a bit. So get them in now, and then we'll get to them in a bit here.
Ahmed Khan, in his book Authenticity of Hadith, Redefining the Criteria, or Authentication of Hadith, Redefining the Criteria, has actually done precisely this. So that he has chalked out some principles, which on another show we could expound upon. But basically, some thinkers have already started to do this. And more of us need to do that. Now, on the other hand, this does not give an excuse to missionaries for another faith they think they have an excuse, but it doesn't really give them an excuse to champion their own cause in this way. Because when we think about what academia is doing, academia is yes, in a way, showing us the assumptions that we have made, revealing those assumptions. But those assumptions have been made across religions.
Mm-hmm.
And if we talk about hadith, like Muslims have long felt that hadith studies, faulty though they may be in some areas, have nonetheless given us a close enough picture about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Whereas, in fact, if we try to think about other world religion leaders, we have hardly good information about them, whether we talk about Musa alayhi salam or Isa alayhi salam or any one of the other prophets, or even founders of the world's great religions that are not so close to Islam as Judaism and Christianity are. We have either...
You hear what he's saying? He's saying, oh, well, even though the hadith is just garbage, it's all crap, academia didn't take it seriously, it's still better for what we have for Muhammad than what we have for Jesus or Moses. Aha! You see? Still so powerful.
Yeah, your source is 2 centuries after the events, written in an atmosphere where people were cooking up fake hadiths like they're cooking up falafel. That's way better than having a bunch of first century sources like Christians do. So much better.
And I just did a video in March arguing that the Pentateuch, the Torah, actually dates very, very early. There's a lot of good evidence to support its reliability going back to times that were pre-monarchic, so before the time of David and Solomon. So yeah, we've got a lot of good evidence that we use, and we have actual criteria that we can use. So Stan, Luke Vandeweghe just published his book, Living Footnotes on the Gospel of Luke, using all of these historical tells like Semitisms, onomastic congruence, and other issues to just show how reliable Luke is. Why has no one done that with the Hadith? Do the same thing. Let's find onomastic congruence in the Hadith. I would love to see them try that.
Hey, by the way, here's what's interesting. I mentioned that Muslims would look at the isnads and so on and conclude the opposite of what actual historians who specialize in Hadith studies would conclude. So the Muslim would say, oh, look, perfect list of names, therefore it's authentic. Whereas the non-Muslim Hadith scholar would go, perfect list of names, obviously fabricated because the method hadn't been invented back then. But it's similar with other stuff in that a historian looking at the matan, right? Looking at the story. A historian looking at the story and seeing something embarrassing about Muhammad would think that it's more reliable, because why would you make that up? Whereas a Muslim looking at the matan would look at something embarrassing about Muhammad and say, okay, that's probably fake, because you can't say Muhammad didn't do anything negative, and therefore that would obviously be made up. A Muslim would look at a story about Muhammad performing a miracle and say, that's obviously true. Whereas a non-Muslim historian would look at that and say, okay, that's exactly the sort of thing people would make up. And also along theological lines, if there's a hadith that doesn't fit well with Islamic theology, a Muslim will look at that and say, this doesn't line up well with Sunni Islamic theology, therefore probably made up. Whereas an actual historian would look at a story that doesn't line up well with Islamic theology and say that's more reliable. We trust that more, because there would have been less of an inclination to make up something that conflicts with Islamic theology, and therefore is probably just true. So like every single step of the way, they do things the opposite way. Muslims have been trained to do history the opposite way that a historian would do it. But they just think, we've got this awesome methodology, and they're shocked when it blows up in their face like this.
And you got a good point, because in Christianity, that's similar to what we call the criterion of dissimilarity. So we'll say things like Jesus constantly called himself the Son of Man, the Son of Man. But that's not really a title used for him in the early church. So that's unlikely to have been made up by the early church. It's probably an authentic saying that goes back to Jesus. And so that's just one of many ways that we work when it comes to things like the Gospels. We have all this good criterion we use. You can check out our series on the reliability of the Gospels for a taste of that.
There's little or no information, or we have information that is clearly not reliable. So really, they don't have anything to champion in this regard. On the other hand, those who are trying to promote Islam to other peoples may find that it is a relief to learn that some of the hadiths that we may have found problematic.
Oh, here you go. Here you go. You hear that?
It's a relief, David.
You hear that? In other words, guys, if you didn't understand the point, it should be a relief if you're trying to reach non-Muslims with Islam, that the hadith can't be trusted, because now when they say, hey, what about Muhammad having sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl? Well, you can't really trust the hadith, right? So you can't trust all these stories about Muhammad. But here's the thing. If you can't trust a lot of this kind of material in Islam, and you think that sort of thing's all being made up, I have to say, don't tell us anything about your prophet, man.
Exactly.
Don't tell us anything about your prophet. Because you don't know anything. Anyway,
this is his argument that we're about to get into, and why we can now trust the Quran, because the unreliability of the hadith. I cannot believe I heard this when he said this.
Do not have the level of reliability behind them that some Muslims have presumed them to have. And so we can feel more emboldened, in fact, now to present our religion to others, knowing that we don't have to impose on them the need to believe in such hadiths as may have been problematic in their minds. So we can focus more on the Quran as the book from God, which is so clearly reliable, and which Dr. Qadhi emphasized as well, that academia basically accepts that the Quran is a reliable record of what the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, preached. And so we can present the Quran as the word of God preached by our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to the entire world. And we can say to these missionaries and others, what is your excuse for refusing this book? If you were previously saying that you couldn't believe in the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, because of this hadith or that hadith, well, now, for you to prove that that is a problem, you would have to prove that that particular hadith is authentic. So it's they now who have the burden of proof.
We have the burden of proof of proving the hadith are reliable when we criticize Muhammad. Shabir, do you not understand the problem here? Yeah. If we don't know much of anything about Muhammad, because you have to go to the hadith to learn about Muhammad, then we don't know much about the guy who was revealing this stuff, and whether he was the biggest con man in the universe or whether he's the most trustworthy person in the universe. We don't know about his companions and how trustworthy and reliable they are. And you're just saying, hey, here's this book. Well, we don't even know what a bunch of this book means, because you can't even understand a bunch of this stuff without the historical background from the Hadith, which are now in question. You don't know how this book is compiled. What's the background of these revelations? What's the ordering? You know this from sources outside of the Quran itself. And so go ahead, use that methodology, Shabir. Just, hey, don't criticize the Hadith. Just believe in the Quran. Why? I would love to hear why we should believe in the Quran.
Here he goes. I think he's gonna go into it a little bit more.
Who have the burden of proof.
If he says mathematical miracles, I'm gonna lose it.
No. It's better than that.
Those are authentic narratives about our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, based on which they were previously rejecting the Prophet, peace be upon him. Now, with those hadiths, cleared up, now, the Quran is in their faces, and this obviously is a message of God, from God to the wider world. So everybody has got to answer to God individually for why they reject this message, the book of God, the Quran. So that changes.
Think about what he just said. For everyone who kind of missed it, he's saying, hey, people keep criticizing Muhammad for all this stuff in the Hadith, that he tried repeatedly to off himself, that he was a victim of black magic, that he had sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl, all these things. And they criticize Muhammad and say, we are not going to believe in him. He's an obvious fraud. And then his response is, well, don't think you know all of this negative information about Muhammad. In fact, we don't know anything about Muhammad. Now believe in the Quran because of what? Obviously the word. How? By the way, you can run the arguments for all this negative stuff based on the Quran as well. So you don't get Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old girl from the Quran, but Surah 65 verse 4 says you can have sex with prepubescent girls. So you've got that. You don't have all the stories about Muhammad and his wives. You have some information here and there, but you have like Allah telling Muhammad that he can break the 4-wife limit. You have Surah 66 verses 1-2 telling Muhammad that he can break his oath to his wives and so on. You can run the exact same arguments about how obvious it is that Muhammad's fabricating revelations to justify whatever perverted thing pops into his head. You can run that just from the Quran. And
this made me think of your recent debate with Daniel Hikichu, because what did he say about this? If we throw the Hadith out, he has to admit the Islamic dilemma works. Remember when he said this?
Highlight 3 key problems with it. Problem 1, the so-called Islamic dilemma is not a challenge to Orthodox Sunni Islam, but rather to the heretical sect of Quranism, which relies solely on the Quran. In Sunni Orthodox Islam, religious teachings are derived from the Quran, Hadith, and the statements of the Salaf, meaning early Muslims. Basing Islam only on the Quran is considered disbelief in Sunni orthodoxy. Therefore, even if the Quran were ambiguous about the Bible's authenticity, Hadith and commentary from the Salaf clarify the matter.
So I should set up a debate here between Shabir Ally and Daniel, because according to Shabir Ally, this is all unreliable nonsense. We just got to go with the Quran. And but Daniel's saying, but if you do that, the Islamic dilemma is successful.
Yeah, I have to say, Daniel doesn't know what he's talking about there. If you go to the actual hadith that are from Muhammad, I quoted the hadiths from Muhammad, and they support the Islamic dilemma. Muhammad thought that Jews and Christians still had reliable, authoritative scriptures from God. And if you want to say companions, I mean, the only actual companion they'll trace stuff back to is Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas agrees with me too. But you have some conflicting stuff, which means, guess what? It's not very reliable. If you have over here, Ibn Abbas saying, nope, Torah and the gospel are as good as gold. And over here saying, no, don't trust the Torah and the gospel. Okay, then we don't know what to believe. Your entire method is screwed up. But Daniel's making an important point there. If you're just stuck with the Quran and you can't even go to later commentators and things like that, what's the main argument? So Shabir is saying, how are you going to reject the Quran? Okay, Shabir, you know this. What is the Quran's main number one go-to argument for why Jews and Christians should believe in the Quran as revelation? The number one, by far, argument for Jews and Christians to believe in the Quran is that the Quran is affirming our scriptures. That's the number one argument. And so if we're just going by the Quran affirms our scriptures as good as gold. And that's the main reason we're supposed to believe in the Quran. But if we believe that the Quran is affirming our scriptures, guess what? Our scriptures contradict the Quran. And so please run your Quran argument for us, Shabir, and tell us why we should believe this obvious revelation that affirms our scriptures and yet contradicts them.
Yeah, so at least according to Daniel, if we go with what Shabir Ally said, it makes the Islamic dilemma look a little stronger, because he said, he says it was just more obviously refuted, which is just nonsense when you include the entire Sunni tradition. But I mean, yeah, I just thought that was an interesting. Also, remember Mohammed Hijab admitting this at Speaker's Corner?
If you look just at the Quran, you will get
the
indication that you can have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. The reason why it's haram to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old is not found in the Quran at all. If you just read the Quran, it is halal. It would be halal to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. Chapter 65, verse 4.
That's what I just mentioned.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us who you can divorce and who you cannot divorce. And then he says, وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ. وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ. And the ones who had never been pubescent before. And by the way, this is very important, yeah? I want all Muslims to be aware of this. The reason why we don't have
Muslim girls watching.
Yeah.
With 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds or whatever is not because of puberty. Wait a minute, what did you say? It's not because of puberty, because that verse in the Quran actually says lam yahid. They never had puberty before. You can't go around that. The Quran doesn't say,
those poor girls,
doesn't say anywhere in the Quran that the woman has to be pubescent. I dare you to find one verse in the Quran where it says you're not allowed to marry someone based on harm, or you're not allowed to have sexual intercourse based on harm, or you're not allowed to marry someone based on puberty. Get me one verse in the Quran which says the woman has to be pubescent. You know, in the Quran it says, حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمْ أُمَّهَاتُكُمْ. It says you're not allowed to marry your mum. It says you're not allowed to marry your sister or your auntie. Where does it say you're not allowed to marry a prepubescent?
So if we go on Shabir Ally's take, according to Mohammed Hijab, it gets worse, because now it opens up the floodgates. Than, are you okay? You look like your brain just broke there a little bit. Basically, what he was arguing is if you go with the Quran only, Than, it means you can have sex with any girls you want at any age. But according to the Hadith, you want a much milder form of pedophilia where you have to wait to at least 9. So clearly the Hadith are better. Like, this is what we're dealing with, Than.
Dude, I'm like angry. This is
welcome to my world.
Hey,
I'm
IP,
always angry.
Hey, IP, you should actually go through the entire hijab video with him one day. There's other stuff in there, because that's like the shortened version to show what he was saying, and it's what he's saying about the Quran. There's nothing in the Quran. The Quran says you can marry, have sex with, divorce, and pass on to the next guy, girls, all before they've ever reached puberty. There's nothing else in the Quran that contradicts. And so if you were only going with the Quran, all it says is before they've reached puberty. So, well, guess what? That could be a 5-year-old. In the Hadith, you get some information about Muhammad waiting a little longer, and therefore, you could go with that sort of thing. But he also, in that exact same video, he gives another example. Surah 4, verse 34, which says that if your wives get out of line, you can beat them into submission. It says if you've warned them and you've banished them to separate beds, and then they're still not listening, then you can strike them. He points out that the word strike there is the same word used as strike the unbelievers, and therefore you'd think that you can attack your wives like you're attacking a soldier in an opposing army, and come at them with a sword and start hacking at them and so on, if you didn't go outside the Quran to learn that you're not supposed to do that. So this is hey, IP, you could actually make some sort of compilation video where you're pitting like hijab and what he's saying against Shabir Ally, saying, hey, now we just got the Quran. Isn't it great? Well, hijab actually had some important points there.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I might try to do that, but we'll have to wait to September. But yeah, Than, this is what got me into going after Islam, was the child marriage stuff. That was like, the anger you're feeling now is it's probably similar to the anger I was feeling. I was like, this is.
I remember I was there. I was there. It was at the debate, and Kenny Bowman was saying all this stuff, and you were looking enraged. You looked like you were ready to like jump out of your seat and start swinging.
I was, man.
Yeah, that's how I'm feeling. Right? Like,
I think my daughter was like 6 or 5 at that time, and I was just like, listen, I was actually sitting next to Holy Kool-Aid. So atheist, him and I were both in the same mood. We were talking. We were like, I can't believe what we're hearing. We were on the exact same page of that debate. I was there with an atheist, and we could not believe what we were hearing. Yeah, that was crazy. So, man, yeah. Welcome to the party, Than. This is what we're up against. But I mean, again, this is the problem. If they throw out the Hadith, look at all the problems they create, not only for the history, but also for the ethics now. They are cooked. Islam is cooked if they are throwing out the Hadith. But their Hadith science is garbage. What are they left with? I got a great idea. Leave Islam. Just leave Islam. Come to Christianity. We have so much evidence. Go through the series on our channel. It's on a playlist. The 15 videos on the reliability of the Gospels. I challenge all Muslims to watch that and then come at us and you think that our Gospels are as unreliable as your Hadith.
Hey Than, at that debate, was debating a Muslim, Kenny Bomer, and he was actually trying to be skeptical, like these guys are being skeptical of the Hadiths and so on, to say we can't trust all the things these Hadiths say about Muhammad and Aisha. And when I was saying, look, it's all over the place, man. I have 200 Hadiths saying this. His response was, so you believe everything that the Hadith say? Do you believe Muhammad split the moon? Because it's in the Hadith that Muhammad performed this miracle of splitting the moon. And I said, do you believe Muhammad split the moon? I like a quarter of my energy in debates is me not being a jerk. Like the most messed up stuff to say always pops into my head. And I don't say most of the stuff that pops into my head because it's not fit for human consumption. But as soon as he said, do you believe Muhammad split the moon? I wanted to go, I believe he split Aisha's moon. Dude. But I stopped myself. I was like, no, we're talking about molesting a little girl here.
Yeah.
So I didn't, but no. Like looking back at it, I was like, oh, that would have been legend moment. I believe he split Aisha's moon. But anyway, I didn't say it.
Yeah.
Man.
Probably better that you did it, but
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That could have been.
Yeah.
I'm just still processing after I was just not expecting to hear somebody openly say those things, I guess.
This is Islam. This is what we're dealing. This is why it's evil. This is why it needs to go away. This is why we need to get as many Muslims out of this as possible. Because again, as AP has said, Muslims are the first victims of Islam. They're not our enemies. We want to help them, but we want to help them by telling them the truth, not lying to them, and we want to get them out of Islam as soon as possible.
Yeah, and think about this, because you're just talking about Muslims in general. They're lied to all their lives. But think we talk about like the grooming gangs and what they did to 12-year-old non-Muslim girls. Think about what you just saw there. This is hijab, like super important Dawa figure in Islam, and he's talking to they're Muslim young women there. And he's telling them, hey, it's according to the Quran, it's okay to have sex with 5-year-olds, but we know from the Hadith you should wait a little longer and stuff. The Dawa guys are grooming all these girls. They're grooming all these girls.
It's disgusting, man.
For what they're going to do to them.
Yeah. And just so you guys watching, we have the donation link below. Please help support us so we can keep doing this full time. I'm training Than to be a weapon against Islam, but we need more support to get there. So if anyone can donate, the link is below. You can donate right through the website, not go through Patreon or anything, and you'll get early access to all our videos. And it will help us to create more content like this because we got a lot of fun stuff planned on Islam we want to do. So if you guys can please support us, that would be great. We would really appreciate that. Anyone watching, just if you sign up for like $5-10 a month, that'll be super helpful. If a bunch of you guys did that, that would help us immensely. So let's get to some super chats here. So if you have a super chat, get it in now because we're going to go through them and then close this out. Could the story about Bukhari sifting through several 100,000 stories be fake to make the ones left sound more valid or to make him sound more sahih? Or at least would you consider it likely? I don't know. I'd like to know where that story actually comes from. I haven't thought about it. I don't know how that would make it sound more reliable. It makes it sound so much worse, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say.
In their twisted mind, if they think that makes it sound more reliable, I'd like to know how or why. No idea.
I'm going to make up a fact to bolster the facts that are made up.
I was looking around for volume 1. I've got it around here. I've got all of Sahih al-Bukhari, but it's spread all over the place. But I was going to read what it actually says at the beginning about. I think in the introduction to the English translation, it says 300,000, something like that. But yeah, you also, there's also reports on 600,000. But anyway, tons and tons and tons of hadiths that didn't make the cut.
IP looks so professional when sharing screens, makes it look easy as compared to David Wood, who can't share with sound. This is the proof. I just use StreamYard. It's simple and easy. It's just very efficient. That's what I do. That's just so much better. So, you know who also uses StreamYard? AP. You know who doesn't? David Wood, because he refuses to change. He's stuck in his ways.
What does he use?
Ecamm. Yeah, I was using Ecamm before most of you guys were born.
Probably. Speaking of Joshua Little, he thinks the Quran was canonized by Uthman. Academics like Stephen Shoemaker say Abdul Malik much later. Thoughts? Yeah, I just read Shoemaker. I'm not entirely convinced by his points. I think he makes some good points. I don't know where I stand on this yet. I need to read more on it. I have a hard time thinking that maybe it was fully canonized by Uthman. I think I have a hard time buying that. I don't see any good evidence to really support it, but I don't know. What do you think, David?
Well, you have sort of different levels of canonization. So you have Uthman burning all the Qurans and putting out a standardized version. So he sort of canonizes the 114 chapter version as opposed to the 111 chapter version of Ibn Masud or the 116 chapter version of Ubay ibn Ka'b and so on. So there were these conflicts and so on, but you do have later Muslims saying, okay, so we've got all these different qira'ats. These are kind of different versions of the Quran. They've got 114 chapters and so on. They just have differences in them. There are differences and sometimes contradictory, but generally the same meaning and so on, and same ordering and things like that. But you eventually get to, okay, these are the acceptable qira'at, and these are the ones that you can't trust. And so, okay, we're going to have this list of 7. And then later on, okay, it's going to be a list of 10. So you basically have different kinds and levels of canonization as time goes on. So kind of depends on what you mean.
Than and I are going to have Jay Smith on at some point. He was supposed to be on tomorrow, but he has had an issue. I think he said he broke his rib. So we're delaying that to later in August. And then Than can learn a lot about this kind of stuff as well. Is Shabir Ally really a Muslim anymore? Yeah, he is. He's just he's going down some paths that the most of the Muslim community is not going to like. They're going to be upset by a lot of this. I mean, they already have sort of outcast him for other issues. Like in a debate with William Lane Craig, he was arguing that baby Jesus was crucified, and that kind of upset a lot of the Muslims when he did that kind of stuff. Hey guys, I'm wondering what's your view on John Hick's theodicy and the wider view of pluralism against inclusivism versus exclusivism.
Yeah, I mean, so at base level, Hick's theodicy is like the soul-making theodicy, and I think it's good. I think the cosmic story theodicy is better. For those that don't know, I'm working on my theodicy, which basically turns the problem of evil into a positive case for Christianity itself. So that's why I say that. But with regards to Hicks's views of pluralism, I find his arguments against inclusivists pretty weak, to be honest with you. Because it really kind of, from what I can remember, it boils down to him thinking it's epistemically arrogant to be an inclusivist or exclusivist and not a pluralist. So I think he goes wrong in that area. But with regards to his theodicy, I think he's building a good case.
David, assume all Muslims reject the hadiths. Then what?
We'll run our arguments from the Quran. Islamic dilemma works perfectly just from the Quran. A bunch of other arguments work perfectly just from the Quran. And yep, the problem gets bigger because you don't even know the backgrounds of these, and the Quran becomes significantly more incoherent.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the generous super chat. So conquering us is out of the question, at least right now. They're not really converting people anymore. All Muslims have left is outbreeding us. When that doesn't work, what does Islam have left? What is that hadith? Sahih Muslim. I think is it 146? Yes. I think this is what will happen. Let me share my screen here.
Yeah.
Verily, Islam started as something strange, and it would again revert of being strange just as it started, and it would recede between two mosques just as a serpent crawls back into its hole. If
crawl back into its hole like a snake that it is.
That's what we want. That's what the goal is. So yeah, that's what they're left with. They should hopefully this prophecy will come true. Why is IP's voice constantly breaking? Is it puberty? Yes, absolutely is. No, I have an excessive mucus buildup in my throat, which affects my voice. So that's the issue. I'm seeing the ways I can get fixed or around it, but I haven't had time to really do more about that. But yeah, it's yeah.
Why do people care so much?
I don't care. Let's see here. Does peace be upon him come from the unreliable Hadith? I think it does, doesn't it? Can't remember where that comes from.
Yeah, that's Hadith. If you're saying unreliable Hadith or unreliable, yeah, then stop saying peace be upon him every 5 seconds.
Yeah. Coley's in the chat. Coley got TikTok famous for posting a video. They got like 6 million views about 5 errors on the Quran that pissed off the Ummah, David. He pissed off the Ummah so much that even Sheikh Uthman had to respond.
Nice.
That never happens.
Wait a minute. You mean the same Sheikh Uthman who faked a hate crime against himself and then blamed us and then said that the guy got locked up and went to prison and converted to Islam and it was all nonsense and there's no record of this guy ever being arrested, let alone going to court and being sentenced to prison? That Sheikh Uthman?
Yes.
Wait, the Sheikh Uthman who his friend sent his wife to him for marital counseling and then Sheikh Uthman banged the dude's wife? That's Sheikh Uthman?
What? What?
Fan, dude, we have to catch you up on so much.
You've never seen anything as dysfunctional as the Dawa community. And these are the guys who are telling us about Islam. It's amazing.
Telling us the powerful proof that Islam is true. It's these guys. Yes.
Yeah. So his buddy sends his wife to Sheikh Uthman for marital counseling. Sheikh Uthman bangs the wife, then marries her. She wasn't divorced from the other dude. So this woman was married to 2 guys at once. Then Sheikh Uthman has to lie about all of this after faking a hate crime against himself and blaming us for it. And then it came out his other wife, because this is one of his wives, but one of his other wives actually filed a restraining order against him for like choking her and stuff like that, and for threatening her, choking her. He's one of those guys who has to be choking the life out of a woman during sex to get aroused, like Andrew Tate and so on. So anyway, all this stuff is out here. Guess what? None of this hurts his credibility even slightly. In the Dawa world, he is regarded as one of the champions of Dawa. They do not care even slightly. He could be committing adultery with thousands of prepubescent little girls behind the scene. It could all be exposed. It would not hurt his credibility even slightly. This is how actually depraved the Dawa community is. It's sick.
Yeah. You see, Than, I just want you to know, when you're studying Dawa.
See, a little bit of research goes a very long way.
Good to know. Okay, so as for suggestions on books, check out Patricia Crone. I need to read more of her. Everyone should read Robert Hoyland's book, In God's Path. That is a go-to. Tom Holland's got a good book. What is it? The Shadow and the Sword. But yeah, that's some good places to start. There needs to be more. Again, Joshua Little's dissertation that David brought up, it's free online. Read that. Read Joshua Little's dissertation. I've not finished it. I need to go back to it. It's great. Very great. Coley, read Joshua Little's dissertation. Make more TikTok videos. Read it now. Go download. Stop what you're doing, Coley. Get the dissertation and start reading that tonight. I want you to blow up again on TikTok citing that for sure.
Heck yeah. I feel like when I'm listening to this, to the Dawa lore, I feel like I'm listening to the script of like Days of Our Lives or something, like some sort of romance drama. I'm still processing. Sorry. It's
yeah. For those who don't know, I just debated Stephen Law. It's on Unbelievable, so that's on that channel if you want to see it. But this person's referencing that debate. He says, why did you allow Dr. Law to insinuate that Eastern religions are comparable to Christianity? Asian nations wouldn't have been so vulnerable to communism if they accepted the gospel. Yeah, there was a lot he said. I didn't have time to respond to every point he said. I'm on Unbelievable. It's the way that format is set up. You don't have time to get to all of their points. That's just nature of the beast. I responded to as much as I could. I don't even remember what he said because we recorded that in early June, and it's been a long time since then, so I'd have to go back and check. As a Christian, I have to prove to a Muslim that his sources are reliable in order to prove that his religion isn't. This is the worst system ever. Yeah, that's basically what Shabir Ally was trying to argue there. It was like,
and I have to say, it's completely silly. So, I mean, for other reasons than what we discussed. So guess what? Shabir's saying, hey, you should actually be happy and excited that the Hadith are unreliable and called into question, because now you don't have to defend Muhammad based on all this Hadith nonsense. Yeah, the problem with that is vast majority of Muslims are not throwing out the Hadith now just because of what Sheikh Yasir Qadhi and Shabir Ally said, right? In other words, your average Muslim, any Dawa guy who's telling us about Islam, they still believe in the Hadiths and they still believe that's a solid methodology. So no, we don't have to avoid the Hadiths and we don't have to defend them, because almost any Muslim we're talking to still believes in those Hadiths in spite of what Shabir Ally and Yasir Qadhi said. So good news, Hadith are still on the table, ladies and gentlemen, for dinner.
And if they want to throw it out, sure, we'll just run the Islamic dilemma, the second Islamic dilemma, showing all the historical errors in the Quran. Dave and I were just on his channel on, Saturday, talking about scientific errors in the Quran. So yeah, we've got plenty of ammo, even if we throw out the Hadith. My Mutta wife said she'd do anything for $50. I said, okay, paint my house. It's very powerful. Very good. Very smart. Very smart. Yes. IP at all. Ask the next Muslim apologist you meet how he'd refute Mormonism, then apply the same arguments to Islam. They have similar prophet stories. That's good. Maybe it might be something we could try in the field to see how it works. I'd be interested to try that. Go. Someone at Speaker's Corner, tell Bob and Chris and little Bob to go try that and see how it goes. That might be interesting. That would be a good place to test that. I'm discombobulated after that video. Yeah, welcome to Islam, buddy. Does the Bukhari story have an authentic chain? I don't know. I don't know. This would be a good thing to look up. Does Daniel 2:7 prophesies the kingdom of Islam? No.
I don't think
no,
so.
That's awful, man. No. We should eventually do a video on that, Dan.
Daniel in general?
They'll say Daniel 2:7 prophesies the kingdom of Islam.
Oh, this is serious.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you have so much to learn. It is one of their go-to places to try to show Islam and Muhammad is in the Bible. I know it's that bad. I know. Look at your face. It's so sad.
It's more recent, and it's basically they're playing Bible passage whack-a-mole. It's their go-to passages used to be Deuteronomy 18 and John 14, stuff like that. Once people start learning the criticism, then they go Song of Solomon, Isaiah 20. They start going to different passages and so on. And then when people learn those responses, then they're going to Daniel and so on. It's just they'll run with an argument until there are enough people who know how to respond to the argument. Then they'll just switch to a different argument. It's like, you guys are acknowledging when you keep changing your arguments, you're acknowledging that your original argument couldn't stand up to scrutiny.
I've been wanting to get into Danielic scholarship in general, and now I have a good place to dovetail it, I guess.
Yeah. I so want to see if I could bury the hatchet with Joshua Bowen and see if I get him on to talk about Daniel and Muslims' responses, but I don't think he'll come on my channel anytime soon. But if he does, would like to, I'd love to have him on to talk about Old Testament and Islam.
I bet you I could.
Yeah. I think he'd give some great insight on that because the Dawa arguments are so dumb. He did some stuff for AP a couple years ago. I'd like to build that up again, bring more stuff into recent times. All my Mutta wife does is shop. She was so sick for a week and 3 stores went bankrupt. We got a very generous super chat. I'll get to that one next. Me, when I'm in a debunking Islam contest and my opponent is an Islamic source. That's good. Thank you for the generous super chat. I hope my question makes sense. If you are silent when something wrong is taking place, makes you complicit. Lay the Dawa silent with Muhammad hurting Aisha. How does that work with God's passively allowing bad to happen to Job? Thank you. So a couple of things. Again, we pointed out in past streams on this, Stan and I, that your moral duties change based on your ontology. So it's immoral for any of us to go in the women's restroom. It's not immoral for a woman to go in there. God, who is omniscient, can see all possible futures, understand how the best way to grow moral values, virtues in one, can actually look at different timelines and know when the best to go in. I gave this analogy, like let's say like I saw a person get kidnapped on the street, but I was a superhero in that I could see the future. And I knew that if I like tried to jump in to prevent the kidnapping, someone was going to get shot and they were going to get hurt. But if I let the kidnapping happen, they go down the street and a drunk driver runs into them. And a cop is right there who no one gets injured seriously. The cop gets out, arrests everyone. The person is safe from the kidnapping. If I was in that position with that omniscience, I'd be morally obligated to let it unfold in that direction instead of trying to get involved. Because then you catch a drunk driver, you catch the kidnappers, and the person is free. No one gets shot. So based on God's ontology, you can actually argue that he has different obligations and duties than we do. A lot of fun in your streams watching Fan react to Islam and the Dawa culture. Yes, I'm going to keep doing more because it's hilarious.
Mike, do you remember, if you remember that picture I posted when I said this is not AI and it's a picture of you like super happy?
Mm-hmm.
That picture of you. I don't remember the exact moment, but it was one of those moments where I was in
Learning
disbelief of something.
Yeah, this is Islam.
I'm going to see if I can't find this picture really quick.
The look on fans' faith was me when I started watching David Wood and AP a year and a half ago. IP just happily scaring him. Yep, this is what I'm going to keep doing to poor Than. Just keep scaring him with Islam and Dawa. Than, the sheer look of disbelief on your face. Yes, da'is of our lives. Here's most Muslims I have seen have scary dead eyes. Or here, most Muslims I've seen have scary dead eyes. That's why they need to get out of Islam. Islam is just really, really bad. They should get out of it for sure. I'm an Arabist, Orientalist. I recommended the One in the Many by I don't know how to pronounce that.
Francois
de Rocher. He's basically the Bart Ehrman in Islamic Arabic studies. All right, Coley, check that out as well. Just want to say, God bless you guys. This is fun. And does this mean the Zut Hadith is unreliable? No.
It's the only completely reliable Hadith.
Completely reliable, guys. Completely reliable. Yes. And don't have to worry about that one. That one goes back to Ibn Masud, I believe. So we're good. So, all right, Than, I hope you learned something about Dawa.
Oh, yeah. Here. I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, you took that screenshot of me. Yeah.
That's you laughing and finding pleasure in my pain.
Well, that's what we do. Are there any hadiths about the green giant? Peace be upon him. Yes, for sure. The Holy Crusade against Islam is just a wunderbar.
Wunderbar.
Powerful. Excellent. All right, I'll close this out. Yeah, we'll be streaming again. David and I will be in New York this week with Avery of God Logic. We'll be doing a bunch of stuff up there. All right. What are we doing exactly, David?
We're going to be in Times Square 2 evenings, I believe. Muslims and Hebrew Israelites and stuff who want to have some discussions are welcome to join. And then I think Sunday we're heading to one of the close by parks, like Washington Square or Union, we're heading to one of the parks and stuff. And then a couple other things going to be doing during the day.
Good. Powerful stuff. Excellent. All right, guys, check that out. If you live in the New York area, come out and meet us. Than and I will be live probably on this channel again next Monday. I was going to stream tomorrow, but Jay Smith had to cancel, so we will reschedule that. I don't know. Maybe we'll stream when we're in New York together with Avery. I don't know, Dave. I don't know what we're doing, but maybe we'll try to fit some sort of stream in when we do that for sure. So cool. Anyone who wants to donate, please click the link below, and we'll see you guys next time. You made it to the end of this video, which means this message matters to you. If you want to see more content like this reaching people for Christ, you can help make it happen. Your support makes these videos possible. Click the link below and donate today. And if you want to go even deeper, consider joining our Patreon community. You'll get early access to videos, behind-the-scenes content, and a place to connect with others passionate about this mission.